we hit the bars.
Oh my goodness.
Boom. Hate it if you want. Hate it if you want. It's
That's the
Scott off the
first-
press.
That's the first time I've seen all of that. I was highly amused.
So we're starting our podcast.
It would appear so.
Yeah. So we're trying to learn everything.
Which is why I went to Color Bars.
Yeah, which is why we went to
I
Color
love
Bars.
that it was like this big lead up, and then it's like
Color
Bars.
Bars. Color Bars. Hold up. So what would happen if Color Bars went on again just for a moment?
Why?
Just
because you don't know what you're doing already.
Well, one sec.
Okay.
Or I don't know. Maybe.
That's for a future endeavor. Okay, this is too long. Color Bars.
You said that. Why don't I stop and...
Okay. This is the time that we have to play around with all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So essentially, the Capitol called in, and our great leader had something to say.
Take any questions y'all may have. And they tell me I'm supposed to call on Governor Cox first.
Great. I think we'll have
Supreme Court candidates.
Thank you,
And
guys.
how long is your
Thank
short
you, guys. Let's go. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Come on, let's go. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Well, President Snow had to go, as they say. He had to go. So what's been going on?
Well, I think we should explain why it's Scott off the press. It's because I love puns, and that is our last name. So
Yeah.
I get what I want.
Imagine.
Imagine he is your uncle. What, President Biden? He's
I
the crazy
know.
uncle, right?
Mr. Christie Gray to interview the trucker. All right, so
Why
pretty-
don't you explain what you've been doing? Because you've been busy.
well, so we're getting normally you have access to a studio or you just do normal interviews, right?
Mhm.
So we've been setting up our studio in-house, and then it's learning how to use this software and the equipment on our own, so that we can produce our own podcast and kind of go more in depth. So like in front of us right here would be our screen, but in front of us is another screen. So that way we can do like Zoom interviews, and we can I don't know, really enrich the experience, I guess. So it's just kind of finding our groove.
It's a work in progress, and we're working on it. But thank goodness for him, because I've been busy with all my interviews and uploads, which take me forever. So he's been figuring out the technical aspect of it, because that is what intimidates me. I can edit, I can write, I can interview, I can tell stories, I can do all of those things, but I hate the figuring out the technical aspect. So thank you.
So
Working on that.
we like to have different conversations. So that's, I don't know. Like I said, all this is going to be us kind of finding our groove, because off the cuff, prepare some things as far as videos, clips to share, but then kind of talk about, I don't know, what's been going on. One thing that I found interesting that happened the other day with Biden was that apparently, what was this? Actually, it might have been today or yesterday, that Biden bombed Syria. And what I want to do is go to a Situation Room photo. And I'll pull that up. So notice this is Biden in the Situation Room,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, I mean, look at the intense photo of Biden going to bomb Syria, I guess. Yes, this is the first show, Chuck.
Clearly.
First show.
Grow with us.
Yes. So, yeah, so if you look at the Situation, well, the reason that I want to get into this is so I'm going to switch up on you some more.
You got to keep the microphone there, babe.
No, I get you.
I'm just saying. I couldn't hear you for a second. I need to move mine up. Go ahead. Don't mind me. Go ahead, love. I love
no,
you.
I'll wait for you. Hold
What
up.
do you mean? I don't even get. It's fine. It's fine.
No,
It'll be
there,
fine.
there we go. We'll go back.
Let's take a moment to hear from our sponsor. We're
Yeah.
sponsored by alcohol.
Alcohol.
I'm just playing. I just thought it was funny because I'm like, wait, why is all this alcohol over the place?
Look, I
We're
went to
just
Hobby
Generally
Lobby.
sponsored by.
I went to Hobby
alcohol.
Lobby and got bottle lights to put in the empty Tito's
in
bottle.
The Tito's,
But
it
the
is
Tito's
not
bottle had a
paying us
sweater.
to
It's empty.
have this on there.
Sponsored by the IKEA hand that you can pose any way that you want, draw
And
however you want,
John here needed to have
inspire
2 of.
yourself. I bought 2 of them. One to put
Not
wedding
sure
rings
why.
on.
Okay.
The other
Where is your wedding ring?
to
by the way?
inspire myself
Where is your
to
wedding?
get all Da Vinci.
Where is your wedding ring? By
You know
the
what?
way?
I was potting plants and cleaning things with pine saw today. And my wedding ring's
all
made out of
say.
olive wood, so I can't ruin it. Plus, it's been an ice storm in Texas, so I can't go out of the house. I've been here with you all day while she's been roasting in the sauna upstairs.
I like to be cozy.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go back to the Situation Room photos. Yes, honey, I know you can't hear me on the mic. All right, so let's go back. So here's Biden. But the thing is, I want to bring you through the different famous Situation Room photos. So you have the Biden photo here, which what do you think about that? I mean, you're the news lady.
Well, I mean, it looks very staged to me.
Well,
But
besides that, you see that in the paper. What do you think?
Something serious is going on.
Something serious. Now, keep in mind with everything going on, COVID. Let's ban, Rogan off Spotify. I don't know, inflation. We're gonna win the 2022 midterms, all of it. So then we go here. This is what it reminds me of. Boom, the Bin Laden raid. Look at the seriousness. Now, imagine this, but with mask, right?
Yeah.
It's the same nonsense.
Same exact thing.
Right? There's
Yeah.
John Brett. Look, actually,
Hillary has a hand over
you want me to tell
her
you what's funny?
mouth and gasp.
This photo has every CNN, MSNBC political intelligence government commentator. Half of
Yeah.
these people
Half
work.
those people now work for
Work in the media.
the networks.
Yeah. Now here we go to another one. Now I can't let Trump off the hook because these look serious. I want to show you Trump's because this is to show you that I'm not biased here.
That's actually almost
This
worse.
this is their
That's almost
situation
the
room.
worst.
It really don't look. It looks like they're like,
that looks the most posed, I would say. I mean, the other 2, well, I don't know. I guess it depends on how you look at it. Like the other 2 are like let's look all, but I don't know. They just look like pose for the camera.
they're like, all right, so can someone get over here and continue to plug in the phones?
We have a lot of wires going on right here.
Oh Lord! If you also notice, we have our Freedom Lane sign. That may or may not be courtesy of a town in Maryland. Just saying.
John is from Baltimore, Maryland. In case you're wondering, someone asked, what is the podcast going to be called? It's called Scott Off the Press because we are the Scots.
Yeah.
I think that you were supposed to say that with me, like the Scots.
I don't know.
The Scots. No? I think it would be cute.
My
I'm just saying.
wife loves musicals.
I do love musicals.
Now I'm kind of a one and done guy. I'll watch them. It was entertaining. It was great. And then that's about it. She will watch them over and over and over. So I have to make it through every musical
You
that's
have
ever
not
come
watched any of the musicals I've asked
Yes,
you to
I
watch.
have.
No, you've watched one.
No, look.
You watched Showboat. That's it.
No, I watched Showboat. I never watched Moulin Rouge till I met you.
Oh,
I
okay.
also had never watched Les Mis. I watched two.
That wasn't even really a musical.
but we
though. That
watched
was
the
one
other Les Mis
with
too.
Liam Neeson, which was
But
not
I
even a
also
musical.
watched the Hugh Jackman one. I
Okay.
also watched The Greatest Showman with you.
Okay. But you did say
And I argue that Sweeney Todd, Barber
No,
of
that
Fleet
one's
Street,
too
is a good
graphic.
musical.
That's
Well,
too
you know.
graphic. You said you were going to watch Pirates of Penzance with me 2 days ago.
And I will watch them. I will watch
before
them.
I die.
Okay.
Otherwise, you'll feel very guilty.
So trucker convoy to call out politicians. Oh, so should we go to some trucker convoy?
Yeah, because so I had just posted before we did this first debut podcast. I posted except I don't know the guy's name yet, unless one of you has found out. But someone had shared it with me, and this was fascinating. I don't know if you've heard of this yet, but you know how they were talking about like, let's take a page out of the book of the trucker convoy to Ottawa, and like let's do a California to DC or a trucker convoy to DC. Well, this guy in the TikTok video that I was sent and that they're trying to garner support for says, screw that idea. Like enough has been done in DC. They're expecting us. They're going to plan something. Do a Yui, go down to the southern border and do what they want. Like see what's going on. Basically block off the southern border, be the wall.
Build a wall with trucks.
Right. And it's actually quite brilliant because he's saying they would be forced to then bring attention to the border because we're there. And so now they need to do damage control.
I'm listening.
That would force the media to come down there. And the truck was basically saying, then we can use the media, unlike the government, which I think is a bit of a stretch because
Well,
in my opinion, the media is already like bought, paid for, corrupt. They're going
According
to
to
just do whatever bidding.
According to the
government
Washington
agencies are
Post,
saying.
that is a trucker convoy. I'm just saying.
It's so asinine because like how can they even make that definition? It doesn't make a bit of sense. Like that's actually what they're opposing. The truckers are actually opposing that and they're like, let's call them fascists. I don't get it. Doesn't make any sense.
Well, so it's a reoccurring theme. So you know what? Here, I'll actually switch. I'll switch to something else to prove my point here, and I'm going to use this again when we talk about Whoopi Goldberg here in a little bit. But I'm going to do. No, I understand that.
We can't hear you,
One of us has to operate the whole show,
I know.
producing wise.
but you're gonna have to figure that out.
I'm telling you, she's ridiculous. She's ridiculous.
And remember, the camera's right there, not right there.
Yeah, I understand that.
Love you.
So this is the Anti-Defamation League, and definition of racism. It's like racism is the belief that a particular race is superior or inferior to another, that a person's social and moral traits are predetermined by his or her inborn biological characteristics. Racial separatism is the belief most of the time based on racism that different races should remain segregated and apart from one another. Well, then all of a sudden, we go to definition number 2 that the ADL comes out with. Racism, the marginalization and or oppression of people of color based on a socially constructed racial hierarchy that privileges white people. So my whole
Again, we have another example of definitions being changed to meet the convenience of the narrative. We've seen it happen with vaccination. We've seen it happen with anti-vax. Now means anti-mandate just because they said so. And gosh, there's so many examples of this that where they've gone in and changed the definition to fit what they want it to mean. And we see the same thing. Racism has never meant that. Just they suddenly think that they can just redefine the word out of nowhere when it's always meant like not judging a person based on their color, not treating them differently because of their color. And suddenly they're like, nope, this only applies to people of color and white people are bad, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to keep redefining things, and I bring it up because of, like I said, the truck convoy. If you look at what's going on in Canada, Trudeau and them now, unfortunately, I got a different angle on Trudeau today. So I kind of just threw things together. Obviously, we just kind of wanted to get a first episode going, and then we'll kind of hone these things in as we go down the road. But ultimately, Trudeau, if you look at his tweets and his press conferences, he keeps trying to label these Canadian truckers as pretty much a bunch of racists. And then you had some idiot running around. Whoops. Sorry about that. And then you essentially had these idiots running around to where one individual had like a Nazi flag connected to a Confederate flag that was there in Ottawa, with these truck groups.
And I'm sure you saw the one that I shared with. He had the ski mask on, and the flag itself was ridiculous. It was a Confederate flag with like a truck busting out of it. Like, how can anyone take this seriously? I mean, this is the same thing as like, what would people on the right wear? What would Trumpers wear? Let's go with a bunch of khakis and all dress the same and wear khakis. It's like, this is what they dream up of. They're like, what's the image that we want to portray? Well, let's do a Confederate flag with a truck busting out of it. Like, no normal, sane person that is against the mandates is like, yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, especially no one else in the crowd had their face covered with a ski mask. It's so blatant, so right in your face.
Yeah, what's that group that's been showing up in the khakis?
And the khakis. I actually just talked about this with my Tony Schaefer because we touched upon this too, and he was like,
Patriot Front, right?
yeah. Well, he was talking about the other situation where they had covered the license plates, and he's like, that would never fly. That's illegal. They would totally have been pulled over. So that tells you right away that these police officers were like, ignore this group, don't pull this group
They had like
over.
a combo of probably, and I'm being conservative here, probably approximately 30 vehicles, license plates covered.
Yeah, and they act like that wouldn't normally get pulled over because that's illegal. Obviously, they were given the heads up, like, don't pull these guys over because it's basically part of our false flag operation. I mean, but they make it so obvious to anybody who has eyes to see and ears to hear. You know, God gave us these eyes and ears and discernment to see when something is fake and when something is real, and I just find it very easy to tell the difference.
Well, I believe Trump had, and that's the problem. If you wanted this is the hard thing of how fast the 24-hour news cycle goes, because it goes so quick. How can you if we were to try to dig up all this different stuff, I mean, with just me and you, we would need somebody sitting in a corner with the computer. That's what they do, almost Jamie style. Because right now I got to do all that and do this with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, you had that Trump rally in Texas. And I believe you had some other khaki guys showing up with the mask. Same routine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. The Patriot Front thing.
With the sun, are you talking about with like the khaki shorts and the sunglasses? They all looked the same.
Yes, and they do the white mask thing like over their face. And I seen a post that said, "This is Texas. Nobody wears masks in Texas." You know, wherever this rally was. So let me see if I can gain my bearing here. While the government, and I'll tell you about the truckers too. I like this one picture. And since me and Christy with the boys went through the full, starting from the Hobbit series all the way through the Lord of the Rings. Christy, you ran on Lord of the Rings while I find this real quick.
What? Talk about why we did that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So my kids have been into Harry Potter. I was more into the Lord of the Rings. For some reason, I have this in my mind that there's a competition, and I always have to defend Lord of the Rings over Harry Potter and say how much better quality Lord of the Rings is and how much better it is than Harry Potter. So I wanted to make sure that my kids all saw everyone have the extended versions. I read the books, huge J.R.R. Tolkien fan and C.S. Lewis fan. And so I love all of the allegory in the Hobbit books and the Lord of the Rings books.
Not to cut you off, but Marty, I believe, is accurate. I think it was Trudeau's photographer in that crowd. I just wanted to throw his comment on there.
There was a photo that showed what appeared to be Trudeau's photographer in the crowd following and taking pictures.
They took the Confederate and the Nazi picture. Yeah,
wow.
I think they matched up the guy's face. So I think Marty's correct.
Smoking gun. Thank you for pointing that out, Marty. So yeah, I had them watch that because I like obviously these guys were Christians, J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, and there's some great learning lessons and things in those movies. So yeah, we did a marathon recently. It was great.
Yeah, you're probably right. Maybe use the tablet. Kenny said maybe. See, essentially, I think we're learning we already reoriented this studio. This is the second time. So this setup's better. It's just now we got to figure out where do the screens all make sense as far as add a line of sight of the cameras and everything else.
And then someone suggested that as long as you are trying to switch and talk, that maybe you should have one of those just mics that are connected to the headphone rather than one of these.
What I think I need to do is I just need to change the way the screens are. So this was why I brought that up. Because you had this Lord of the Rings picture, it's COVID emergency powers. And since we were talking about the trucker protests, obviously it's about COVID mandates, COVID emergency powers, the government. And it's like, why shouldn't I keep it? And that is kind of funny because, right, you give government power. They normally don't give that back.
Yeah, of course. I mean, and the whole 9/11 situation is a perfect example of that. That is the best way to see that, all these things that they led us to believe would be temporary. I mean, did any of you at that time, and be honest, like think that we would years and years later be going through those machines and have the heightened airport security to this level this many years later? Like, I mean, I feel like, just thinking back, that I was under the impression that that was for the time, and for the remember the on the news they would have like the orange and the red and the levels of the terror alert threats. Remember that?
Well, yeah, that's the first time I ever looked. So
But
I was in boot
think it
camp when all that
made
nonsense
you,
came out.
yeah, but I think it made you think that the changes that we were seeing were going to be temporary, and now we just all accept it. Like, we
Threat level
walk
orange.
in the airport like friggin' cattle, and you're treated basically inhumane. I had such a terrible experience in an airport one time. And remember I teared up telling you about it because it just felt so violated. It was just so unnecessary.
When me and you went to the airport,
Was that when that was?
we went to
Gosh,
see
like,
my sister.
We've been through so much.
She wore
in
a
so many
shirt that
movies.
had all.
Oh yeah, that's
You
what it
know the
was.
women's shirts that will have the huge grommets. I mean, they're like, let's see, like that. And then you lace. It
Yeah.
has like a
So it had
drawstring.
like metal detailing at the top. And so apparently it was like making the thing go up. And they were so excessive
I'm vaping.
on go do what you want. Do you. They were so excessive and feeling my whole area up here that it was so over the top that it was just it pissed me off, quite frankly. I'm like,
Oh, I remember.
that we are now treated like automatically
That was Orlando Airport
treated
too.
like friggin' terrorists every time we friggin' go to the airport, to the point that they can rationalize essentially sexually assaulting you
In the free state of Florida. Listen, DeSantis.
right in front of, I think, and that was part of the element too, is because it was humiliating. It's one thing to have somebody rationalize, like patting you down and like, oh, I just got to make sure that what is going on here or whatever, but to do that in front of everybody, it was just it was so humiliating. And so we are now in a position to where we are like guilty until proven innocent, just even when we travel. And this is all going back to 9/11. We thought that some of these things were going to be pulled back. And I know there's been studies done about like how much good the TSA actually does and how many people they've caught. And it's like nothing. It's all a huge waste of freaking money. And that is our big red flag, that when Fauci says like masks, he envisions masks being a forever thing on planes, he means it. He wants us to forever and ever have to wear masks.
Well,
on a
remember
freaking
we
plane.
talked about 9/11. Remember when we had met, we had talked about our initial TSA interactions right after 9/11.
Mhm.
Because you used to be able to opt out of the body scanners. There was all that stuff about the body scanners. Because if anybody remembers, the body scanner companies, they were all linked up with the Bush administration people. So they ended up getting the contract. I think they were connected with Cheney and Halliburton and all that kind of stuff. So, and then in Australia, I believe they banned them because of excess radiation coming off of them or something crazy like that. So I used to, what do you say? Not like deny them, but
Yeah, you would say, no, I don't want to go through that machine.
Yeah.
I'll do the pat down.
so then they'd have to pat you down, and they'd be like, "Sir, we're gonna take the back of the hand and touch
Now you have that.
and touch and touch the groin area." I'm like, "Well, guess you got to do what you got to do." And I remember I did that for probably about 5 years. It got so old. I mean, that's the
No,
thing with
I
some
mean,
of this
and
stuff.
I
It
did
gets
too.
so old. You're just like,
My
all right,
mom
dude.
did it. My
Yep.
mom did it. I did it. I knew plenty of other people that said, no, you can't make me go through that machine. I'll just say I want the pat down. And we did it and then, to be honest, I don't know when I was like, screw it. I don't got time for this. I'm gonna go ahead and go through the machine now. But I mean, there was obviously a turning point, but this is how they condition you. Obviously, if they push it long enough, they condition you to just accept it as normal. And this is what we can't allow happen now, because the more I find out about what they're allowed to do post Patriot Act, I'm shocked. I'm learning new things all the time. I'm like, what? They can do that? I mean, I didn't know. I was that naive, I guess. I didn't know that without a warrant, without anything, they can without even needing your phone, they have access to all of it. Signal, messages, whatever. And I know this from talking to people personally who they're like, here's all your messages. And they're like, what? You didn't even need my phone. You didn't even need a warrant. Nope. They didn't need any of it. This is our current state. They're already looking at everything and can look at everything.
See, when I met Christy, that was kind of the funny thing, because I'm thinking, honey, I grew up in Baltimore City. They've been grabbing you against your rights since you're a teenager. No, but I feel like there's a lot of people. And look, me and my wife are nowhere near any kind of being an alcoholic. The problem is we normally go Monday through Sunday with the kids, handling responsibilities. Chrissy does show, I work, I cook the meals. In between mom duties with the kids and everything else, we've been in Austin for 6 months. We got out once. And then that got interrupted so we could do a story. So that being said,
cheers to that.
Yeah.
Cheers to our like
Yes.
one date night where I got
Yes.
called to a jail
yeah,
and
we had to go to a jail. So this is sponsored by date nights and mezcal.
and alcohol companies that are not actually paying us. Cheers. But so I like some of these comments actually. So
Which one do you like? We'll put it up.
Well, there goes too fast. Hold on. Okay, so pull up Michael before he goes away. Michael wrote
Right here?
Yeah. He said, where were you on 9/11? I was in middle school telling people the war is going to be over oil. So I love this comment because my mindset has changed so much. I was like all in on that. There was like weapons of mass destruction. And I was like, President Bush, as he reads his Bible, I love George W. Bush because he's a Christian. And now like my mind is
He's born
blown.
again.
My
George
mind is
W.
blown.
loves
I
Jesus.
feel completely deceived about all of that. But I mean, and so yeah, I believed everything, and now I have a totally different mindset about all of it.
Yeah,
So that's- I
well,
thought
that was the thing that bought because
The other comment was about I haven't flown since 2013, and that's good on you. So they weren't molested by TSA like myself. But
man, well, my grandmother is like Tony Stark, but a 90-year-old woman. So she's got the steel hips. And actually, she just got COVID, got over COVID. Well, she's getting over COVID, then got hit with the shingles because of the COVID. I guess apparently shingles can occur if you get COVID and you know your immune system, I guess, gets ravaged. So now she's kicking the shingles. She may or may not have taken horse paste. May or may not.
yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. Now I want you to go to another comment that I saw. This is just silly. Is that
Which
true?
one?
Pronounced? Is that how it's pronounced? At
What?
the very top. At the very top. Pronounced.
Baltimore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought that was funny.
All right,
He's
so
from Baltimore.
Baltimore, Baltimore. Actually, no, you know what? When I see
Baltimore.
that made me think of like Voldemort,
Yeah.
the name we shall not speak of.
Yeah.
Baltimore, baby.
Baltimore.
Oh,
Oh man, they fill TSA jobs with rapists
I guess
straight
they
out of
do.
prison. I guess so. I guess.
Why are we calling it? Why are you calling it the COVID? Hold up, we'll throw that up there. We had the COVID.
The COVID.
I don't know what else to call it. All right, so speaking that, since we're getting into a little bit of let's get through some more of these videos real quick. So we got the initial Biden. Let's remove that from the studio. We'll remove that from the studio. Now, this man. Let's just go to it. He's eating him out like Labradoodle. Doctor.
I'm laughing, but it's actually kind of sad.
It's super sad, man. It's like it's almost as bad. Well, to be honest, it's just as bad as what they did in New York and in Michigan in a nursing home with the COVID deaths.
Mhm.
All right, so we can get rid of that one. What is going on with him as far as that's concerned? I don't know anybody. I mean, it's to the point where now CNN's starting to somewhat admit that, like, yeah, something's going on with this administration, and maybe we should roll out Hillary. What was the other ticket that they were talking about? Was it Biden Cheney?
I don't know.
All I'm saying is that the January 6th celebration, when Darth Dick Cheney came out with Liz Cheney and all the Democrats came out to him in the Senate chamber, were shaking his hand,
Mhm.
I about died.
Yeah.
Now, this is what I'm always talking about. Okay, we gotta give a shout out right here. Tyler is the dude. They're big fans in Ohio. They're Toledo people. That's my homie.
T-Town.
Had to say what's up. All right, so moving on. So, I'm of the belief that most of this is a game. I'm even still hesitant when it comes to Trump.
Oh, 100%.
So I
especially right
yeah.
now.
I can never wonder half the time what is actually going on, but I've always kind of looked at it as kind of the WWF in a way. And it's interesting because you always had now Jesse Ventura, he's kind of gone through some different routes. He's super anti-Trump now. He did a recent podcast on,
I don't remember what we were listening to on that, but I
was it Rogan's?
I don't think it was. I think it was.
It was good, but he definitely hates some Trump. But my whole point is I'm going to put this video up on because now don't get me wrong. The National Prayer Breakfast, if you remember, you had the National Prayer Breakfast where Ben Carson, this is where Ben Carson started to climb the political ladder when essentially he asked beep on Barack Obama at the prayer breakfast. He shit on him.
Mhm.
I don't mind saying that word. At the prayer breakfast. So every year they do that. Same thing with Trump. Trump's done it. I think Trump even made fun of Hillary, but they were still all lovey-dovey there. I think it's every year they do the prayer breakfast, right? So here's the prayer breakfast this year.
And Vice President Harris, Majority Leader Schumer, Mitch McConnell. Mitch, I don't want to hurt your reputation, but we really are friends.
Yeah, we don't want people to know.
And that is not an epiphany we're having here at the moment. You've always done exactly what you've said. You're a man of your word, and you're a man of honor. Thank you for being my friend.
And you're a good lapdog.
Yeah.
You do whatever I tell you to do.
You're a man of your word.
Obviously on the same team. That's the thing is something that I try and say a lot is we do need to get away from R versus D, red versus blue, Trump versus everyone. It's either Trump or not. And really recognize that a lot of these people are on the flippin' same team, whether they have an R or a D next to their name. And we need to constantly be reminded that the real versus that you should be thinking about is we the people versus the career politicians. We the people versus the rich and elite. We the people versus the companies that are doing whatever, will say anything they need to bank off of we the people. That is the true situation. It benefits them, rich, the elite, the politicians. It benefits them if we're distracted fighting with each other. We all need to recognize that we should be holding them in check, period. That is where the unity needs to happen. And I get passionate about this because I've seen mainstream news, traditional news contribute to this divisiveness that serves no one. The traditional news makes money off of us fighting and arguing in the comments. The most engagement, sadly, the most engagement that is gotten from social media apps is when it's divisive, sensational topics that are getting people arguing.
Sorry, date night.
So
The fact that our
my
date
rant.
night is a podcast is pretty good.
Yeah.
Maybe that should be called Scott Off the Press Date Nights.
But that's my rant because I'm tired of it. I'm so sick of the oh, Trumper, oh, you're a Biden person. Stop fighting with each other and wake up because we, the people, are losing our rights and people are making money off of us. They don't care about us.
So here's a good comment because I'll rant on this. We were force-fed Anderson Cooper in junior high in the 90s via Channel 1 News.
Mhm.
Most people don't realize he had said, I interned twice at the CIA. Plus, he's like a Vanderbilt. And apparently the relationship he had with his mother was extremely weird and had like sexual
Oh my
undertones.
gosh,
Remember?
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, of
it was
course
kind of like the Farrell guy, right? Like what was it? Mia Farrell?
I think.
And her son. Yeah, because it was like
Oh,
Woody
yeah.
Allen's kid that is now the journalist that did the real good hit pieces on Woody Allen and some other people within
Yeah.
Hollywood. Actually, I think his pieces were Ronan Farrell is his name, the son.
Mm.
Ronan Farrell, I think, did the big pieces on Harvey Weinstein and all that stuff. The reason that I brought that comment on was yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he's still pushing. Look, Glenn Greenwald hits this home all day long. The intelligence apparatus might as well be the majority of the intelligence, military, and political commentators on MSNBC, CNN, CNN, and then they're still sprinkled
that's
around
another
Fox
thing.
as well.
I mean, like, seriously, think about that. Think about how corrupt you have to be posing as a public servant through, this supposedly unbiased position in the CIA or the Fed, or some kind of Fed agency job, whatever. And meanwhile, you're vying to essentially be a celebrity on MSNBC or CNN. I mean, that is crazy if you stop and think about it. All these people that were in those positions that are now just talking head pundits. Just think about how crazy that is.
Yeah, it's wild. Well, it's not, in my opinion, it's not only unethical, but conflict of interest, everything else. Switch up to a little COVID real quick. And as I said, we're honing in the structure, but we got Marty Makary is now the head of Glenn Youngkin, the new governor of Virginia's COVID advisory board. So this is him on, I don't know, I think it's called The Revolution, that guy on a Fox show. It's pretty good. I got two quick clips with him.
Universities and many businesses are still chasing a COVID zero strategy. They're trying to get to COVID zero, and they're putting people in a bubble, and they're ruining lives. People don't just die from COVID; they die from depression and from poverty and from mental illness and substance abuse, and that's something that many of the elites never understood.
Now, yeah, he's great. Now, what I like, and I've told you this many times because you've interviewed McCullough, you've interviewed Malone, and then I tend to, of course, I've listened to probably every McCullough and especially Malone interview that's come out since he first went on the Dark Horse podcast. But then I like to list the people I like to listen counter him are Marty Makary, Dr. Peter Attia, and
who's that crazy sounding name one?
Z-Dog.
Z-Dog, okay, yeah.
Z-Dog, and then
that's the one I was thinking.
There's two other ones. But the thing is,
Dr. Oz?
No, they're moderate. But I think the problem is they're trying to be so, hey, man, we're just in the middle, that they kind of have to throw shade at the Malones and them. But I think that the Malones and these people like Makary need to get together, because I think there's going to be more beneficial conversations coming from them to cut through, because me and you had this conversation many times about these individuals. Because of what's happened, there's a huge difference between the initial podcast with Robert Malone with Brett Weinstein and what you see now. And I'm not saying that Malone's going crazy.
No.
What I'm saying is, you've put that much pressure on a man and backed him into a corner along with these other people. You're crazy. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. You didn't technically invent this. You didn't technically contribute to this. Well, it was technically 1985, not 1984, or no, it was 81 that you did this. They nitpick so much. It's no wonder that they've gotten more aggressive, that they've what would be the word?
Combative.
Yeah.
I mean, but I mean, that was
I wouldn't even see combative, but more radical. You've made them more radical in a way.
Definitely more radical. I mean, like I've talked about this plenty of times,
and I don't think that's bad.
I've obviously talked about this with Dr. Robert Malone, just personally. Like, I've seen his evolution of before, he was still very much pushing for the vaccines for the elderly and the immune compromised at the very beginning. Remember? I mean,
Yep.
in my first podcast, he was saying, like, I still think that, you know, if you're elderly and immunocompromised, you should still take these shots. And now he is like completely against it in all forms. And so it's been an evolution of watching him take this process. But I mean, that's why it was kind of so groundbreaking when I asked him, like, so would you say you've been red pilled? Because like basically what I was getting at with that is like going through this process, seeing how viciously they come against you and attack you, like it gives you a different perspectives on things. It has this like awakening process. But to your point, to be fair, at the same time, that can also put somebody on the defensive. And so I think that when
I
when
think
you
that's
say-
what's happened.
yeah,
And I don't mean that in a negative way.
right.
What do you think? Back anybody into a corner, it's fight or flight. And I to be honest with you, Malone has I believe Malone has mentioned that exact thing before. I mean, that's come up in some of these podcasts, fight or flight. What happens? What kind of a response are you going to give when you back people in a corner? And you know the word that I want to use, but you mess with people. Beep is what I want to do, but you can't mess with people in that manner and back them into a corner. I'm only doing this for my wife.
I don't like the F-bombs.
She
Right.
doesn't, except for freedom bombs.
Yeah, I like that.
Freedom
F-word.
bombs. We drop freedom lanes around here. Now, if you notice, my wife always makes fun of me, but there's a reason we have the Mockingjay hand signal from the Hunger Games. Yeah.
I'm like, you know, some wacko's gonna be like, that means something else. I mean, goodness gracious, people are always trying.
No, it's the Mockingjay.
I know, and we know that, but I'm saying people are constantly looking for like imagery and
Well,
like
here's
what
the
something else
problem.
could mean.
But what's going to happen to those people is if they keep up that kind of thought, okay, they're going to get selected for the 276th Hunger Games. I had to do that courtesy of my cousin's husband that's working on my own Hunger Games stuff that we're actually allowed to use. So,
Another
let me do another Macari video.
Nate James. This is what I mean. The QAnon people make prediction that is making a hand signal for
Wait, now you want to show him the JFK plate? I found this.
Oh
Why not? Well, I found this in a. I bought this at an antique mall. I love it. It's JFK.
There we
And
go.
what does it say? Ask not what your country can do for you, what you can do for your country. Yeah. Now in his mind, it was ask not what you can do for Marilyn Monroe, but what can Marilyn Monroe do for you? But that's a whole nother
I mean,
story for
that's-
another
and
day.
That's the reality of that situation.
Yeah. He might not have been the man that we like to think that he was. So anyway, I'm going to go back and we'll play this other one so we can pass up on Marty.
Tens of thousands of careers were ruined. We have now
Natural
a
immunity,
hospital
which used to be
staffing
a conspiracy.
crisis throughout the United States in many rural hospitals. Ironically, many staff were fired because they had circulating antibodies, but they were just antibodies the government did not recognize. Ironically, when we had nurses fired with natural immunity, we fired those least likely to spread the infection. And now we've got hospitals calling in COVID-positive staff after they fired a batch of nurses saying, hey, it's that bad, we're in battlefield conditions, please come in and work. And look, public health officials just need to acknowledge they got this very wrong. Starbucks is now hiring back workers. Delta Airlines, GE, Boeing, Amtrak, they're recognizing now that the data on natural immunity is compelling. It was actually there all along.
Yeah, I mean, and see, like you said, that's like a very moderate person. He definitely doesn't agree with everything that Dr. Malone and Dr. Peter McCullough says, but he's like, look, natural immunity exists. And you literally fired nurses that had natural immunity, antibodies, the least likely to spread it, while keeping in California, while keeping those that tested positive, they could go back to work even having tested positive as long as they were vaccinated.
Yeah, Virginia's blessed.
It literally makes no sense.
Virginia
No
is-
logical sense. And these are the same people that are saying science, science, science. But they're like, yeah, we should totally have a COVID positive person because they have the vaccine, which we will, all the health agencies admit does not keep you
So,
from getting it. Or
that
transmitting it.
that gentleman, Z Dog, and Dr. Peter Attia. Z Dog, a lot of people, he's kind of the bald guy. I don't know his nationality. And Peter Attia was on Rogan's podcast. He moved to Austin during all this, I believe, from California. They did a whole thing, and they actually brought up Malone. And whether they agree with him or not agree with it, they pretty much laid down, okay, here's what we agree with, here's what we disagree with, blah, 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 right? But essentially they said, look, you should never censor or silence any of these people. You know what I mean? Like, we should be able to have these conversations. And once again, that's why I say, like, they've created the Malones and the McCulloughs, the mainstream, the White House, right? Psaki, Biden, Fauci, all of these people. You want to call these people out instead of having actual conversations like it should have taken place. They've created the situation that they're dealing with now. So where do we go from here? You want to talk about?
Well, let's since we talked about people coming from California to Austin, it reminded me of, I just recently had a teledoc appointment with my doctor in California. So this is a funny story. So I found a doctor that I actually love. The first doctor in so many years that was actually interested in finding the root cause of what was going on with me, as opposed to pushing, oh, well, let's try this. I had so many referrals when I was like, had all these weird symptoms. I was referred here, there, and everywhere. Ended up with an endocrinologist. They put me on thyroid medicine. Finally get out to California, tried to seek out a traditional doctor, but one that was like, would favor natural methods, we'll say. So I found one in California of all places. So then when I moved here to Texas, I was like, man, I finally found a doctor who found out what was going on with me. So basically, he did a full like blood analysis, took my blood, tested all of it to find out what the root cause of was going on. And this has never happened to me before in my life. But when I went to the doctor, he's like, well, I went over all your blood samples and I figured out what was wrong with you. You want to know what's going on? I was like, sure. And he's like, you just need to calm and he said the real word, you just need to calm the F down. I'm like, what? He's like, your body is in fight or fight response constantly. You're dumping insulin.
Fight or flight comes up again.
He's like, you need to calm down. He's like, so he put me on like a natural way to manage my cortisol, manage my my insulin levels. And I just had my checkup and it's great. Like total turnaround. I'm off my thyroid medicine. Crazy. And he took a like natural healing approach. Imagine that. So I was talking to him and I didn't really know where he stood. All I remembered was that he was using HCQ at the beginning of the pandemic. And I was like, how do you get away with that? Because even then it was controversial. And he said, well, I mean, I've used it for other things, so it doesn't really raise any red flags. So I talked to him this time and I was just kind of like, how's it going out there? And he's like, so you moved to Texas? And he's like, where? And it's like, well, Austin area. And he started laughing, like guttural laugh. Like, he's like, you just moved to the California of Texas. He's like, that's like the worst part. And I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, it's a big podcast hub. So all this to say, he is using the horse paste to treat his patients now, getting fantastic results. He says it's working great with the current variant. I'm like, how are you getting away with using that? And I mean the prescribed version, but I'm saying for censorship reasons,
the horse paste.
I'm like, how are you
livestock medicine? How
are you getting away with that in California of all places? And he's like, well, my patients know what's up. He's like, the pharmacists that I work with know what's up. He's like, we just all keep it on the down low, basically, and work together. And he's like, we're doing it because obviously we're getting great results. He also told me that he has taught, of course, worked with the hospitals, and he says the hospitals are saying there's no truth to this whole mostly unvaccinated. He said it's pretty much 50-50 is what he said, that the hospitals there in California are experiencing in terms of patients. Now that is in the Central Valley, which is where I was. But I mean, and that's one doctor, so anecdotal, whatever.
Well, and I heard him I heard him on speakerphone as well.
I had to have my husband hear this doctor because his doctor is just like so great. He's just
Well,
so
he was on
real,
speakerphone talking about how essentially the instant cares. What do they call those places?
The what?
The minute clinics, the
Oh,
places.
urgent cares.
Yeah, the urgent cares. Essentially, that their whole hustle, and this happened to me
Mhm.
because I just got COVID.
Mhm.
So we're in Ohio. We left what, the 27th, 28th, right, of December. 27th, 28th. We fly back from
Yeah.
Ohio. Yes, because the 28th, I wake up. I believe we left the 27th. The 28th, I wake up that next morning after flying in. I got full blown something.
It was bad.
So
yeah.
for 2 days, I had a crazy fever and hot and cold chills. And Christy will tell you every hour I'd fill up the tub with like hot
Yeah.
water and I'd
I'm like,
soak
oh, I
in
can't
it.
wait to see
with,
my
like,
water bill.
Yeah,
this
with
time.
baths on with Dr.
Every
Teal's
hour.
Dr. Teal's lavender or eucalyptus mint or whatever the flavor is.
It made the bedroom smell good.
Yeah, and then I'd do like cold showers, and it was horrible for like 2 days. Crazy fever, hot and cold chills. And then the third day, I had this crazy tightness in my lungs, and you remember my throat was sore. I
Mhm.
sounded like I was off the way I was talking. The next day that went away. Now keep in mind, I took the horse pills through. I did for 5 days.
Code language to beat the
Yeah,
censors.
look, I took that horse pace and put it
No,
all like that.
it
That was the
wasn't-
dosage. You take
except no, except it actually wasn't the paste.
it was the paste.
No,
You
it
put it
wasn't.
on
It wasn't the
all
paste.
up and around. That was the dosage
It was the
for
actual
livestock.
prescribed medicine.
Oh, Marty, we'll talk about JFK on another episode because Christy would tell you we could do a whole tune
Oh,
in for
yeah.
that one because I see the comments. Believe me, I have a whole
It
book.
is fascinating.
Christy will
man.
tell you. So if you
Oh.
look over on the bookshelf, I got some a bunch of those are devoted to the Kennedy family. So my whole point is I got COVID. So, but here's the thing. I don't know if the ivermectin helped me or not. I also
Wait,
took
you're not
now,
supposed to say that word.
horse pills. So-
Ivermectin is not
No,
recommended
stop.
by the CDC.
We don't
Hold on,
use
I
that
gotta,
word.
I gotta cover it up. It's not recommended by the CDC or
Yes.
health agencies. There's no evidence that it can cure you.
According to
from
Merck, ivermectin is
COVID-19.
not effective.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
And Merck. Yeah.
Just trying to get beyond,
So
the hammer of censorship.
the primary makers of ivermectin, Merck, denied
Let's
the
just quit saying the
efficacy
buzzword. I
of-
don't want to get another strike.
Well, I already wanted to do it, and then you had to roll with your little stink, and then I had to go and
Okay,
do
hold
my
on. Let me
stink.
cover this. The CDC
Go ahead.
says that vaccines are completely safe and effective. You should definitely get a Pfizer vaccine.
So here's you should hook it up. So yeah, with those trunk dates, right off a bridge. So my whole point is, I have no clue if the horse pays. Where I also took Pepsid.
Oh wait, hold on. I gotta address this real quick, and then you can continue. Christy, you need to interview Dr. Mary Bowden. I am on that. It's the comments disappearing, but I saw that that's actually being set up and coordinated as we speak, happening.
The Japan study shows the antiviral effect. Yeah, isn't that crazy? I wish that I had saved that
And
because that was
from
the tweet.
Reuters, wasn't
That
it?
was the tweet that Rogan went and did. But originally it didn't say antiviral effect. It said effectiveness with COVID. Remember, they ended up changing. They ended up going and correcting. And then it said antiviral effect, which all of a sudden everybody went and look at Rogan. Rogan deleted it and everything else. And then they hit Peterson because Jordan Peterson retweeted it. Everybody retweeted it. Which goes
And
to
then
show
they-
you.
And then they switched it from COVID to
No, they did
antiviral.
that. They did that prior.
Mm.
But my whole point is, what kind of grace do people like? How is it? Reuters puts up an initial article. People go and tweet the hell out of it. What did you think was going to happen if you put some Chinese study shows efficacy with
Wasn't Chinese,
horse
honey.
paste?
Japan.
You know,
And just let's keep our cultural appropriations.
if
No,
you
I'm
want
just
me to,
kidding. let's keep everything accurate.
all right, we're going to keep the chalkboard because she's going to hate it if we want to keep everything accurate. 'Cause she's about to get dinged.
Whatever.
Yeah, you
Hey,
know
I
it.
just corrected you.
Yeah. So my whole point is, if Reuters is going to go and put something out and then they get the grace of going, God knows how many hours that they went before they went and changed the title, then why isn't that same grace given to people like Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, or anybody that tweeted it? But like I said, we're in this kind of like, it's funny because ultimately this is where the Marvel universe is going with Doctor Strange and the multiverse of madness. What kind of multiverse of madness are we in when it comes to Twitter and the social media in the manner that it is these days? It's insane.
I mean, it kills me that so many of these organizations and news articles and everything can just change headlines up, and they don't acknowledge that they've changed them. They don't put a retraction. They don't have an editor's note or anything. They just, it never happened. We're just going to change it. I know that happened with another one, and I can't think of it right offhand, but
I don't know. The COVID stuff's crazy because, like I said, I didn't have Omicron. You dealt with me. I was sick for almost 2 months. I had gastrointestinal issues for a month and a half leading up until I end up, boom, hit with this infection. I then get even worse gastrointestinal side effects during the COVID. So all I had was 2 days of fever with hot and cold chills. 1 day to where I had a tightness of the lung and throat. Went away the very next day. Keep in mind, I'm taking Pepcid because I took that because of the studies going on with the active ingredient in Pepcid. We had fluvoxamine as well. I never took the fluvoxamine, but I had that on deck in case of the long haulers because that's what they're using. Actually, Makari, who we showed you the videos, Z-Dog, all them, Dr. Drew, all of them took fluvoxamine because of long haulers, and they've all been big advocates of it recently. So I just did the Pepsi. I did that. I did up the vitamin D like crazy, the vitamin C, and the zinc. And I'm trying to think if I had anything else. Oh, when I had like omega-3s. With the DHA and the EHA, I believe that were high in that. But that's what I had. But you were around me. You might as well have had a cold.
I noticed a big change in you when you because you were having some like lung issues, and then you took the Pepcid. I feel like that helped you a lot. The Pepcid, actually.
Yeah, because honestly, I didn't take the Pepcid till like the third day, and honestly, it's because I watched that interview that you did, and he's like, "Well, I started taking this," and I'm like, "Ooh, I'm going to take the Pepcid." But as I said, when I looked up COVID symptoms, some people get the lung issues. There's actually, I believe, 30 to 40% of people that get COVID get gastrointestinal issues. So I had more issues with that, and then my whole gastrointestinal issue went away. What, 2 weeks after? Now I will say I definitely had muscle fatigue like crazy for about a week and a half after. But as I said, I don't know if that was the reason. I don't know if it was the Pepcid. I don't know if it was doing Tony Montoya horse pace gummers.
You didn't do that.
Honey, we don't know.
Don't be fake news.
We don't know.
You didn't do that.
Honey, are you kidding me? Freedom Lane.
Misinformation.
Freedom Lane. It doesn't really matter. Freedom Lane.
We're just using it as a code word.
No, we're not. We're saying we don't really care. We're going to put our stuff on Spotify. If Neil Young's coming off, what was it? Crosby, Stills, and Nash, we're going on. Exit the stage. What does Nugent say when it came to Neil Young?
Nugent says so many things.
Nugent's great.
He was a riot to interview.
You need to do it. You need to do a legit interview with him.
No, I will.
Because his long format with Rogan, where he was just jamming out, talking about Chuck Berry and Little Richard and everything, was great.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to some stuff. So
let's see. I was having terrible acid reflux, stomach problems. Stop drinking soda. Oh, so more like just stop drinking the juice and stuff.
Oh yeah, you got to get rid of that.
Yeah, but it's hard.
Christy will tell you.
That's my weakness.
They say they're Midwest people. Pop.
I like pop.
I'm a pop Nazi around this place.
Pop is one.
She knows her boys. You give her boys a sodas. You give them some sodas with the sugar. These boys have a tablespoon of pop, and it's game over. Game over. Off the walls, crazy. So, let's.
Oh my goodness! it's Ann Hale. Hi, Mrs. Hale. Mrs. Hale was my teacher, my marketing teacher
Really?
in high school, and she took a chance on me. And here's what you ended up with, Mrs. Hale.
So, do you want to get into Whoopi?
Oh, that's a really weird way to phrase it, but we can move on to Whoopi.
Well, no. Well, the thing is, I kind of have somewhat of an idea of what we're doing
Yeah.
here, but let's talk about Whoopi.
Okay,
so-
let's talk about Whoopi.
Whoopi found out the hard way that she thought she had a card until she talked about Jews. No, I mean, that's the reality.
Mhm.
Whoopi, so we're going to be extremely fair. We're going to show Whoopi's comment. We're going to show Whoopi apologizing for the comment. And then we're going to show people close to apparently sources, as Brian Stelter says, reliable sources of what they said. So we'll start with her actual comment.
Okay, let's.
About it, because the Holocaust isn't about race. No, it's not about
maybe
race.
ethnicity.
Well, they
No,
consider
it's
Jews
about
a different race.
But it's not about race. It's not about
Well,
race.
what is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man. That's what it's about.
But it's about white supremacy.
Well,
Remember the
but
ADL
it's not
definitions we
about
had?
ideal race.
This is like
It's
totally
not,
right
but
there.
these are two
Romans.
white groups of people.
Well, that
How
was
do we,
after black
They
people
didn't see
too.
them as white.
And they were
but
after
you're missing the
homosexuals.
point. You're
Yeah.
missing the point.
Yeah.
The minute you turn it into race, it goes down this alley. Let's talk about it for what it is. It's how people treat each other. It's a problem. It doesn't matter if you're
Pause it,
black
pause it.
or white, because black.
So did I hear her correctly that she's saying because these were two white people groups, therefore it wasn't about race?
Yes, but this is what I'm getting at. Here, I'm going to show you.
But and here's the thing too.
No, but let's go back to this.
Is Joy Reid? I gotta look. Isn't Joy?
Yes.
Reid a Jew?
I believe so,
And-
but
and
here.
did you see how quiet she was? She was so straight up quiet. We can watch the rest of that. I just want to clarify that and point that out.
Yes, I believe she is.
Oh, someone said I just sounded like AJ saying, hold on, hit pause. He does do that a lot. We can't mention his name on this either.
I don't. Alex Jones. Are you Jones? First, look, I'm going to tell you what.
Oh
I had
my
to take.
gosh.
I take Brain Force every morning with a shot of vodka with my coffee before I get started. Let me tell you. And sometimes I forget about it.
Oh,
I don't even know what I'm doing. And
You,
when
you don't take super male
What?
vitality.
when I take a scoopful of that horse paste, I put it in with Dr. Jones Naturals toothpaste all up in my gums.
We need to bring some super male vitality home.
Yeah, we need some mans. Hold on. All right, ready? Let's continue the video.
Okay.
White, Jews, everybody eats each other. So is it, if you're uncomfortable, if you hear about mouse, should you be worried? Should your child say, oh my God, I wonder if that's me? No, that's not what they're gonna say. They're gonna say, I don't wanna be like that.
Well, hopefully.
I want to be cool.
Yeah,
And
well, yeah, most kids, they don't want to be cruel.
No, they don't.
And we're living in an era where people are comparing
Yeah, they let her
vaccine
just
cards
go.
to the
I know,
yellow
like,
stars, where people are comparing vaccinations to what Anne Frank went through.
Yeah.
So it is
Oh, and then they
necessary
bring up Anne
for
Frank and
kids
whatever else. So let's remove that. This goes back to the ADL definition. This was the original, right?
Mhm.
And then here is. This is what Whoopi essentially. See what I'm getting at?
Yeah, so she was trying to say it wasn't about race because it involved like white on white hate crime, but it was literally about this group of people that were trying to achieve racial purity. And you have this woman saying it wasn't about race because she's going off the new made up redefinition of what was going on there.
But
wait, they
not so fast.
they had to read it.
On our show, I misspoke. And I
misspoke.
tweeted about it last night, but I kind of want you to hear it from me directly. I said something that I
Hear what?
feel a responsibility for not leaving unexamined because my words upset so many people, which was never my intention. And I understand why now. And for that, I am deeply, deeply grateful because the information I got was really helpful and helped me understand some different things. And while
really?
discussing how a Tennessee school board unanimously voted to remove a graphic novel about the Holocaust, I said that the Holocaust wasn't about race. And it was instead about man's inhumanity to man. But it is indeed about race, because Hitler and the Nazis considered Jews to be an inferior race. Now, words matter, and mine are no exception. I regret my comments, as I said, and I stand corrected. I also stand with the Jewish people, as they know.
All right.
As they know.
That
she
was
says.
that was kind of like Rogan Spotify.
Yeah.
Like, look, hey,
Oh
man,
my
I know,
gosh.
and maybe we can have some more diverse thought. And
Well, I mean, but okay, so let's back up though. So what happened also was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. brought up Anne Frank during the Defeat the Mandates DC event.
I'm listening.
And he was trying to make a point about you know, how people are treated, how people shouldn't be treated inferior, how, you know, we shouldn't have authoritarian measures to go after certain groups of people, et cetera, et cetera. He made a comment, probably should not have made that comment because, like, obviously was going to get targeted for that comment. But the point being is he got strong-armed into just apologizing for it. But it was 2 minutes. It was 2 minutes out of a 25-minute speech. And this was a 2-day event, a rally and a panel. 2 days. The mainstream media, the only coverage they gave of the 2-day event.
You think that's what the Whoopi
was
thing has to
2
do with,
minutes,
though?
But hold on, because they
Go ahead.
brought it up. It was 2 minutes of a 25-minute speech by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I'm saying that because as you noticed, when they in the original clip where she's saying this, it didn't have anything to do with race. It was about man's inhumanity. You saw that other chick. She was saying.
She brought up Anne Frank.
She was doing that. She was bringing that up because that is exactly who
Right.
Robert
She
F.
was
Kennedy
trying to wrap into
had,
Kennedy.
yes.
I get you.
So she was deflecting and she was rationalizing and I mean, I think now would be a good time to maybe hear from an actual Holocaust survivor. I mean,
Well,
if you're ready for that. But if you want to talk about this,
we'll
more, we
bring.
can.
Yeah. Well, no, we're gonna bring that up. The reason but then here, this is what yesterday, right? No. Yeah, yesterday's Groundhog Day.
Livid,
So now
threatened Clinton over her suspension.
apparently Whoopi's pissed. So she gives her apology, and she's like,
But
"Yeah,
she
you ain't
still
messing with my money,
feels
son."
Entitled, which shows that race doesn't really have anything to do with any of this. She doesn't matter the color. She feels entitled that she can say and do what she wants and not have to pay consequences. But other people should absolutely have to pay consequences for what they say. And she will cheer on, laud, applause anybody else that gets kicked off, suspended or whatever. But when it happens to her, she is allowed to be livid.
So we're gonna bring on now a Holocaust survivor. Her name is Vera Sharav. Now, I want it before I even play the video. I'm gonna give you the context before we play the video. So
That sounds like a really responsible thing to do. Give context.
I mean, it's pretty crazy. So, and I'm going to pull it up here so I can see it here and read it in front of me. So, Sharav, she was born in Romania in 1937. She survived the Holocaust as a child. Her father did not survive. Her mother immigrated to the United States. She became an activist. So, her methods and assessment, I'm going to kind of skip through. Her methods are praised by some and criticized by others. Marcia Angel, former editor of the New England Journal of Medicine, senior lecturer at the Harvard Medical School, and industry critic, praised her. I see her as someone the research establishment badly needs. Arthur Kaplan, professor of medical ethics at the University of Pennsylvania, sees her as a dangerous gadfly who is not always well-versed in the science of some of the treatments she criticizes. It's crazy to say you won't do the research if you can't get good informed consent when the alternative could be death. He agrees, though, that she is justified in trying to stop trials that involve children if the purpose is extending market rights. Other experiments that Jews Sharav's ire involved the testing of HIV drugs on toddlers. When did we hear about that? During COVID,
yeah.
remember?
Yeah.
She was involved with putting that out there when that involved Fauci. Remember that came out about the children that they were testing the HIV vaccines on and whatnot? So it's pretty wild. So she's been involved. Now we're going to play the video and I'm going to give you my take. Well, we're going to have Christy and my take.
And also make sure you like, share,
Read
subscribe, and
that
all that good stuff.
even though some of the restrictions are being lifted in some countries, at the same time, the FDA and CDC is recommending booster shots for the children. On what basis? For what purpose? The injections, and I don't call them vaccines because they are gene transfer therapy, really, experimental gene transfer therapy. They were supposed to prevent infection, prevent death, and prevent transmission of infection. Well, they now acknowledge the evidence is incontrovertible from Israel, the United States, the UK, the EMA, that the shots don't work. They don't do what they were promised to do. So my question is, if these injections don't prevent infection or transmission, why then are the vaccinated special? They're allowed to do they have all kinds of freedom, which the government allows them from time to time, right? They still have to wear masks. But the unvaccinated are being vilified as the Jews were in the 1930s and 40s. What's the difference? Just the fact that the vaccinated are obedient. And this is what I think you really have to think clearly about. Being obedient means being taken to the slaughterhouse. They won't need gas chambers this time round. The technology is far more sophisticated and far more dangerous, actually, because they can do everything remotely with people not even knowing what's happening. So I say, please wake up and wake up your neighbors. Don't let it happen again.
All right, so
That's powerful, man. And that is coming from an actual Holocaust survivor. So if anyone has a right to talk about this, it's her.
she's got a swab Dick Tracy hat for one. No, well, here's what I told you the other day. This is the current world we live in. Well, she was a kid. She got there and they gave her the striped pajamas and she was there for like one day and had a meal of porridge. And then the Allies came in and they freed them all. Like
That's what you would think that they would say about
that's
her.
what the media would say about her. Like,
Oh, for
well,
sure.
she was only there a day. She was at the Holocaust for exactly 8 days.
Or whatever it would
Yeah.
take to minimize what
And she wasn't at Auschwitz.
either that
She was
or,
at the one. It was like Club Med. They gave them towels and slippers.
or they would try and minimize her message by saying, well, all of these other survivors say this, they would try
Yeah.
and they would try and present her as fringe, which could be a good segue into another topic of how they were talking about, and I know you didn't have that prepared, but isn't it interesting
Go ahead.
that Dr. Fauci and Francis Collins, right, is his name, at former NIH director, isn't it interesting that we now have evidence in their emails of corroborating to call the 3 epidemiologists from Stanford, Oxford, and Harvard that were from the very beginning saying lockdowns, there would be no evidence that would help in the situation, and the negative aspects of that would far outweigh the benefits. They corroborated to call them fringe epidemiologists.
Yeah,
And
this is what
now-
Makari Z-Dog and them actually in that podcast. They hit them heavy on that. That's why I
and
like the moderate
now,
guys.
The Johns Hopkins University most recent study shows that lockdowns were and have been totally ineffective. So you have the failed health director of this whole pandemic situation trying and admitting that he was going to try and do a takedown of these epidemiologists that were saying from the very beginning that it wouldn't be effective, that it would the downsides would far outweigh the benefits. They were calling them fringe, and now we find out otherwise. Like, of course, well, some of us knew already, but I mean, the John Hopkins University study is the latest evidence
Date night.
that it doesn't work.
I feel like
How
that's
come like you drinking shots means date night? I don't get it.
because it is. I
Okay.
cook every meal in this house.
Easy.
and
Not every single. I mean, you cook a lot. You cook
Shit.
a lot. He does cook a lot, but not every single.
No, you're right. You got 5 of them in the past 6 months. No, I love cooking for my family.
You know, it's a full-time job.
No, go ahead. Here.
Hold on. It is a full-time job to fight tyranny.
Yes. No, you have no
I mean, you
idea.
could just
You have no
handle
idea.
the meals. I'm trying to fight tyranny here. Okay.
Yeah.
That is
Mhm.
a 24/7 job.
I mean, we're sitting and
just
I'm like, so
need-
kids, who wants to say grace? And we're like, okay, how was everybody's day? And it's like, are they trying to push the transgenderism back on you again today?
Well, it's sick. He has to calm it down. These freaking stories from
I
their
love her.
schools are just sick.
I wouldn't have moved down.
these
Look,
Teachers are little.
I'm full
freaking
supportive.
Toddler.
do you want
Freaking
this?
toddler babies.
You can have that one.
You have to deal with me the rest of the night.
Date night.
This looks
Date
like
night.
more than one.
May the odds ever be
not-
in your favor. Hold up. Hold up, Chris. Did you
I was
take
not
it?
prepared for that. No, I didn't take the whole thing. I wasn't prepared for that. I forgot that was mezcal, so I feel like I just drank a little bit of smoke, like pure.
Go ahead, get it. Feel the vibe.
Just wait. We need to make this other idea happen.
We have some ideas.
We have ideas. We have really fun, entertaining ideas in the works.
Okay, so we'll turn
Just
we'll
you
turn that
wait.
off.
Brian Ludo.
Oh,
Ludo. Hold on. Somebody feels you. I do all the cooking here too. Us house hubbies are underappreciated.
Look, they have no clue. I'm telling you.
No, but wait.
I
can
can't
just make a
cuss. I
point?
can't
Can
cuss
make a
because there's some
point?
words that I want to use.
Can I
I
make a
handle this
point?
homemaking
But
stuff.
wait,
Do you
can
get
I
me?
make a point?
Go ahead, make
Can
the
I make
point.
a point? And let me make this point.
Make the point. I'm shutting up.
Okay. So when you were first before you had gotten the job, and I asked this of my husband, and it was a huge ask. I was like, "Can you please?"
Underappreciated, Brian.
I said, "Can you please not work?" Like, this is the actual request. I said, "Can you please not work for at least the first couple months when we get out to Texas? Because I really am like diving into uncharted territory. I don't know what to expect. I'm going to really need your help and support."
Thank you, Tracy.
I said, "Can you please not work?" And that's like kind of a big ask of a guy. Like, don't work, let me go do my thing. But I asked him this and he's like, "Okay, fine." And then first few days in, you were like, "Oh my gosh, why?" Okay, don't get mad at him for this. But he's like, hold on, wait, there's more. Just let me tell the whole story. He's like, "Why do like women like complain about this and act like it's so hard?" He's like, "I'm cleaning, I'm cooking, I'm got it all down. I got the kids out the door." He's like, "I got all this down." But okay, if you are honest with yourself by like
By
month
10
2
a.m., you're wondering what the hell to do yourself as a man. By 10 a.m., it's done. The meals are prepped. Everything's good. Everything is ready for the whole entire day. You're
But
just
at
waiting
first
for.
You were like, "Oh, this is easy. Like, why do
No, it
women
is easy.
complain about
It's the
this?"
free time. It's like, what am I supposed to do? You got to understand. I dropped everything in my life to move down here with this woman because I love her, and for her to fight tyranny, Freedom Lane, Freedom Lane. That was the whole goal of what I did. Oh, Eric, look, I got to give a shout out. This guy, Ohio State swimming balling champ right here, Eric Kozier. Love the guy. Actually, he's probably at work. Shout out to our factory workers in the Midwest.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say shout out to me because the comment was about me. So I was
Well,
like,
it is, and he did. But I'm saying I came down
it was
here
about
to
me.
support my wife, get the kids situated, get my wife situated, and it's been a journey because think about it. The past 2 years has been insane. We got you out to
it's been so insane.
California.
It's been
She got
so
laid
insane.
off. All she's talking about, I can't stand. What do you need? You need
No,
help?
it's fine. It's fine. Go
All
ahead.
right. So let's talk about Sharon Stone, hold up, Joe Rogan, mailed body parts.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Ew, that sounds weird.
All right, let's hear it. So, it's going to sound crazy.
This is like suspenseful.
All right, so Sharon Stone says Joe Rogan's an beephole who personally caused losses of lives and brags about work with Dr. Fauci. So she's bragging about her work with Dr. Fauci. Now, she has become famous for showing her genitalia on 2 movies, Basic Instinct 1, and if you didn't catch enough of that underwater animal then, you caught it on Basic Instinct 2. All right, so
Gross.
my whole point is one of a crazy documentary that me and Christy watched together
So crazy. Oh my gosh. Have
was
any
called
of you guys seen this?
Don't F with Cats. Now, F, of course, is the not freedom, the other word that Christy doesn't like.
That I do
And
not
no,
like.
not the anti-LGBTQ plus A word. Don't F with
It
cats.
rhymes with buck, but is
Here it is. The alleged killer, Magnata, may have mailed body parts for publicity, police say. So this dude in this 3-part documentary on Netflix, he was obsessed with Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct 1 and Basic Instinct 2. And he started by killing cats and posting it online, touting people, try to find out who I am. Then he moves on from cats, right, to kill people. Watch the documentary.
This documentary honestly is insane. Like,
Ship the hand to Justin Trudeau.
I could not like stop watching once I started. I would have never on my own being like, oh, don't
One of the
F
best
with,
ones we've seen.
don't F with cats. Like I think I'll watch it. I would never have on my own done this, but because John recommended it, I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I'll listen to it. And I could not stop watching that documentary. It is honestly one of the best documentaries I've ever seen because it was just so twisted, and it definitely kept your interest. But back to your point, sorry.
So I want you to just see Sharon Stone one more time because she's looking crazy. She's got a, you know what?
Somebody said she looks like Tammy Faye.
She's starting to get like a Tammy Faye Hillary vibe, but with a different haircut. So
Brent John Allen, it is literally called Don't
F with Cats.
Yeah.
But
the actual F word.
F
And I think it's still available on Netflix. Oh, my gosh. Watch it and get back to me.
crazy.
Watch it and get back to me.
So anyway, so the guy, this is how crazy it gets. When they're interviewing the guy that was sending body parts to Justin Trudeau, because earlier on I told you we would talk about Trudeau, but in a different sense. The guy is smoking cigarettes in the same manner, doing the thing with his legs in the same manner as Sharon Stone while he's sitting in there with the police. So this is my whole point. He was so obsessed with Sharon Stone and Basic Instinct that she is directly responsible for dead Tinder grinder gay guys that showed up to this guy's house that he was killing along with cats, just as much as she might levy that crime against Joe Rogan. So I think Sharon Stone should shut the yeah, that. I think she should shut the I think she should shut the up. Okay, there we go. I had to do that. Brought to you by Dr. Jones Natural Toothpaste and Charcoal Mouthwash.
I'm not making anybody off.
We're not, but if you're jonesing for it, get the Wake Up America coffee blend. It's great.
It is great, actually.
Okay.
John Wick for cats. Yeah.
Yes, John Wick for cat. I'm telling you, watch this documentary. So when I seen Sharon Stone, Christy will tell you, my mind goes to different places when things, come up in the headlines. So the minute I seen all this Sharon Stone getting on Joe Rogan, I'm like, lady, do you understand? You were a direct reason for this nut job.
Nut job, yeah.
That was running around like Macaulay Culkin on the Party Monster movie.
Talk about costing people's lives. And there's,
Yes.
direct evidence of it. Like she was the inspiration that literally made this maniac kill not only
this
cats,
LGBTQ plus A guy was running around Sharon Stone and murdering people.
Yeah.
Smoking cigarettes the same way she does, going like this with his leg, like she did in the movie, showing her underwater creature.
Ew, gross. Don't, ew. Okay.
I'm just saying. All right. So should we do some Stelter? What should we do next?
Potato head, potato head.
All right, let's do.
We have 69 viewers right now. 69.
Oh, you know what? This is what we should talk about. Let's talk about CNN. So,
And we've been going for like almost an hour and a half.
all right, so we
I don't know how
got.
much more you want to.
No, we're rocking. We're
Okay, we're
almost done.
rocking,
We're
we're
ending with
rocking.
Jen Psaki. So here's Brian Stelter. I know we're all in shock. So this is in reference to Jeff Zucker,
He's
who
so
resigned
dramatic.
out of nowhere.
Brian Stelter is such a flipping drama queen. And let me remind you, because I always say this every time because it's so fitting. Brian Stelter, his initials are BS. BS. And they're very
So that
fitting
stands for
initials.
bull. Okay, there we go. So I know we're all in shock. Michael Bass said on CNN's 9 a.m. editorial call today, you can't replace Jeff. It's not possible. There's no one else like him. So the best thing that we can do is honor his legacy and continue his mission. Do what we've been doing every single day. Now, this is what I told Chrissy. Actually, I tweeted a reply to this and said, yeah, until the new chief comes in and tells you exactly what you're going to do from now on.
It
And the new
says-
chief tells you what his new direction is
And the
going to
new
be.
chief says, don't give me the beep. Don't.
Yeah. Don't give me that. You're gonna do what the I tell you to right effing. All right.
That's your new chief, BS. Brian Stelter, potato head.
So let me see if I have any other. Oh yeah. So what I thought was interesting to Christy, and we'll do 2 more clips and we'll go back to our video so you can see the lovely, my wife, Christy Lee. So John Malone says Warner Media Discovery is getting rid of CNN would be the coward's way out. So essentially, John Malone is like one of the biggest primary stockholders of Warner Media and Discovery. And he says it would be a coward's way out. He said, I do believe good journalism could have a role in this future portfolio that Discovery Time Warner is going to present. Now, this was back in November of 2021. And I was telling Christy about this when I seen Stelter today talking, because I want to tell you exactly what he says here. He said there's a place for CNN. Oh, I'll skip that. I would like to see CNN evolve back to the kind of journalism that it started with and actually have journalists, which would be unique, refreshing, said the cable TV pioneer and longtime chairman of Liberty Media, which is a major shareholder in Discovery. I do believe good journalism could have a role in this future portfolio that Discovery Time Warner is going to present. Back in May, AT&T announced the deal to combine its content unit, Warner Media, with Discovery, blah. Animal Planet, TLC, HBO, Discovery. And keep in mind, the DIY channel has been taken over by the Fixer Upper, the Chip and Joanne.
Yeah.
So now I have a feeling the whole portfolio as a whole is going in a new direction. So here, let me switch this back. What I find very fascinating is that now Christy knows I negotiated labor contracts for a labor union for the past 3 years before I moved here to Texas. So being the fact that everybody's contractual from Cuomo to everybody else, it's almost as if like, is it true that it is so scandal ridden over there? Because I know there's clauses in the contracts, probably morality clauses, all kinds of different things that would be in their contracts that, well, if this happens, we don't got to pay you. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So-
I mean, the contracts never, ever in my entire, all of the years of the business that I've been in the business, they never favor the talent. They never do. They always favor the station.
Well, I would
they can
argue-
always get out of it if they want to.
I would argue, and look, I'm not demeaning on the fact of you being a news anchor. We're talking multi-million dollar deals
for
with these
sure,
people.
yeah.
When you're getting into multi-million, dude, I guarantee you some of these people have sweetheart deals. Now, Cuomo, apparently, you explain to people why I get ready to queue up the other stuff. A quick Stelter
Good
clip.
night from the Netherlands. Good night.
Oh, good night. Thank you for tuning in. Fill everybody in on the Cuomo thing and how Cuomo comes into this as far as his brother's press secretary.
Yeah, so
okay, explain
it's such
everybody.
a tangled web, like that you almost need the red string. Break out your red string and nap it out loud. But so this gets even like it's already bad enough impropriety that he had an undisclosed affair, essentially. But that's just one element of it. So he's having a long-term, like he said, consensual relationship with a colleague. And I don't remember the name. I think it's Anna something, but who also worked at CNN. But the thing is in 2012, I guess that's when she left, but in 2012, she had a brief stint with Andrew Cuomo, the governor of Cuomo, as the marketing comm director. So this same woman that worked for had worked with Jeff Zucker, then ended up working for the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, and then came back to CNN. So why is this relevant? Well, this is relevant because of the scandal involving Chris Cuomo, the on-air talent for CNN, that you could argue contributed to covering up the nursing home scandal and how the governor shoved a bunch of people into a nursing home, which resulted in a bunch of deaths, killing people. That didn't really get covered on CNN. It was all fun and games, and they always treated it positively. And then it came out that Chris Cuomo was basically playing cover for his governor brother. And
I had to. The forehead on that dude.
And then now that you have this element of Jeff Zucker, that battery's about to die. But now that you have this element that Jeff Zucker is resigning because of this impropriety, this relationship with.
Keep talking. I'll switch the battery.
With her. Oh wait, you turned me off.
No, switch the bat. Keep talking.
Okay, I'm gonna keep talking, but you put color bars on.
It doesn't matter. Your audio is still going.
All right, so stand by. We'll have the color bars away in just a minute. But I'm gonna keep talking. So all that to say that this was so much corruption and conflicts of interest happening all at once. So you have the multiple sex scandals at CNN, and then on top of it, you have this woman that he was having the sex scandal, albeit quote unquote consensual relationship with his colleague, happening with the same woman that was also working under Andrew Cuomo. So that is why you saw CNN playing cover for the governor of New York for so long. And why you had Chris, I'm guessing Jeff Zucker turned a blind eye to the fact that Chris Cuomo was covering for his own brother. And it's all just a big mess. And we haven't even brought up the fact that you have the person that's still working there. What is his name? Jeffrey Toobin, that was working there, or is still working there after masturbating on a CNN call. And the
hit the beat button on that.
The what?
The beat button. We should have beat that.
Oh,
I don't think we can say that.
Oh, you can't say that on the air. Whoops. I guess I should have beeped that out. Well, cut that out later. It's not showing. Oh, is it that because you still have it?
Keep going.
Color block. We didn't even mention that, Park, not to mention the pedophiles that were under investigation from CNN. So my point is,
look at that. That was a quick change battery. You see that?
I don't know.
I'm a G.
I felt like it kind of took a long time. It was a little bit
well,
awkward.
the Toobin. Can I talk on the Toobin thing?
Yeah, please do. But
CNN
out, apparently.
CNN did an interview with Toobin talking about what he do himself, and they literally said, "How does it feel?"
Oh, that was the
after
most
you to yourself
interview I've ever seen in my life.
It was so awkward, and they were like, so essentially, he said, "Well, I was serving food to the homeless. And while I was serving food to the homeless, it really gave me time to reflect about what I was myself. And when I was using my beaters and what I was, I mean, this man's talking about what he did on television on a Zoom call with his hands while he's talking about using those hands to serve food to homeless people. And it freaked me out. I didn't know what to think about it.
Yeah, so I'm just still wondering, is CNN still trying to purport itself to be a news network, or is it some kind of weird, wonky, wacky brothel?
So let's listen real quick. Ready?
Cuomo reference. Cuomo was fired in December, and he is not going out quietly.
Oh, no, he's not, Ryan.
There were reports that he wasn't going to get paid the millions of dollars that were going to be on the remainder of his contract.
Should he
so
shave
as a source
his side
said to me earlier today, he was trying to burn the place down. He was going to court trying to burn the place down and claiming that he had incriminating information about Zucker and Gullist. So if that's the case, if this is a domino effect that begins with Andrew Cuomo going down the governor's office, and then Chris Cuomo being fired from CNN, and then Jeff Zucker losing his job at CNN. That is a remarkable domino effect, a chain of events. I think that is part of the story.
So I told Christy that
Look
Jeff.
at that. Hold on. Let's look at their faces. Look at the lady and the man right now. Look how they're looking at him right now.
He's like,
They're
stop
like,
playing. She's like,
like,
seriously. Seriously. He's like, what? What?
Like, are you for real right now?
Look, and Brian.
But her face. This is what she's.
This
thinking
is
right
her.
No.
Brian, your side hair is fantastic.
Oh God, no! This is what she's thinking. Like, don't break this. Like, I have to look like I'm interested in what he's saying. I need to go grocery shopping landing. Oh, I also need to stop at the dry cleaners. Oh crap! I gotta act like I'm paying attention to what he's saying. Okay, go on.
And then,
like,
and then the guy at the end's like, he's like, so you're telling me it was a white guy? Yeah, I don't really care.
Oh, he's like, but tell me more about Don Lemon. I need to know about Don Lemon's got such scandal too.
All right, so
how on earth, like, this is such a joke. Like, how on earth do you have that many different sex scandals going on in a news network at the same time that all of the public knows about, and it's like cheerleaded and lauded on? I mean, you literally have someone still working there that beat me out.
That what?
Oh,
Freedom Lane.
Works there.
Freedom Lane.
Still works there.
Yeah, after is. Damn it. All right. So. All right. So this is, but me and Christy were talking that if you look at Jeff Zucker, Brian Stelter kind of looks like his doppelganger. So I didn't know that Christy knew who the woman was that Zucker was involved with. So I was like, what if he's really involved with Brian Stelter? And what if they're like kind of crazy ego driven to where he wants to have an affair with a man that looks like himself? So therefore it is like he is himself. And I don't know.
Somebody's like,
it's creepy.
Soundboard away from
it was creepy. You got to date night.
Date night.
I love you.
I love you too. Oh gosh, I can tell you had some mezcal.
Yeah, you should.
You're not normally this loving to me.
No, it's think about it. The past 2 years of me and my wife's life has been a tornado. I mean, she's straight Midwest famous when it comes to news. Then she goes out west and the pandemic hits. The next day, we land with a U-Haul truck. We can talk about that. You know what? We'll talk about that story. That will be another podcast. So what I want to end with is Psaki.
Okay, yeah.
Jen Psaki, because Jen Psaki is
like going on almost
well, this is going to go another 20 minutes or so, and then we're done. Jen Psaki's a piece. All right, so.
Ooh, next time we should have sake, like the drink. Saki's for sake.
Yeah, we will. Yes. Okay.
Is that not genius?
Yes.
Like, he knows this about me. I like puns and things.
She loves puns.
And I like things that rhyme.
So let's start with the Psaki Hawley
can
interview.
we do that? Can we have a Saki's with sake?
Yes, I promise.
I just think it's so cute sounding. Saki's with sake.
Saki's with sake. Sake bombs with Saki's.
Sake bombs with sake.
Saki's wall. Sake bombs.
Yes. I like it. It's like punny.
You ready? Let's go. First video.
Discussion with the leaders of the Republican Party, and how does he feel about their support? Because there were some voices on the American right questioning President Biden's policy towards Russia-Ukraine crisis.
Well, I would say that we have had an enormous amount of we've done an enormous amount of briefing and engagement with Democratic and Republican leaders about the decision-making and how we're approaching the escalatory nature of Russia's behavior on the border. Senator McConnell made some comments in that regard last week, and this is an issue in our view that should not be partisan. What we're doing here is we're standing up for what have long been bipartisan American values, which is standing up for the sovereignty of a country, ensuring that they have the right and the ability to choose their own alliances, supporting them with a range of economic, humanitarian, and security assistance, and doing that in a way that's coordinated with our partners and allies. There are some from the Republican Party who have not voiced support for that. And again, as I said a little bit earlier in the briefing, if you are if you are digesting Russian misinformation and parroting Russian propaganda, you may be on the wrong side of this issue.
Russian freaking propaganda.
All right, so
everything comes back to freaking Russia, which I just constantly think of like the Brady Bunch, which is like Marsha.
No, it
That's what I
reminds me
think
of the
about
same
every
thing.
time. Russia. Everything is related to Russia with these people.
So this is kind of like the evolution backwards of Jen Psaki, because here we go. This is Psaki's just, as I said, she's full of bull. And and there's that one too. My apologies. That was accident. So here we go with another one. So this is what they do. It's, the Russians, Russia, as you said. It just gets old. So let's do another.
I would say that we have said since last week that we have seen preparations and buildup at the border, and that an invasion could come at any time. Our assessment has
Fear
not
porn,
changed
straight up.
And then can you just talk about last thought on this topic,
Hold
which
up.
is one of the
Ready?
complicating factors
At the border, and that that we have seen preparations and buildup at the border, and that an invasion could come at any time. Our
Anytime.
assessment has not changed since that point.
Keywords.
And then can you just talk about last thought on this topic, which is one of the complicating factors here is that Russia is now surrounding Ukraine from a variety of different places, right? They're not just on the east, they're on the north, they're on the south as well. They're in Belarus. So
Yeah.
can you describe how that complicates the decision-making process now, or what challenges
This should be like a little
that poses
John
for you,
Brown.
and just the fact
In
that
the
they are
north,
now
in the
a
south,
third
in the
country
east, in the west,
Belarus,
everywhere. It feels like a hip hop.
There's a couple of ways we look at that, Peter. One is, as you know, we're continuing to strongly encourage
only
U.S.
one that asked
citizens who are in Ukraine to depart Ukraine, because we watch closely, and while we don't, and we're not predicting what President Putin may do, we certainly are watching closely the buildup of tens of thousands of troops on the border, and also the fact that we want to ensure there are ample ways for American citizens to depart Ukraine should they decide to leave Ukraine. We're certainly encouraging them to do that.
Yeah,
the second impact, I would say, is that we're in close consultation with our European partners about their own security concerns, and certainly in close consultation with them and our NATO allies who are in the region and in
Let's get rid
surrounding
of her.
countries about.
All right, so because we got a couple more of her. This is what I want to say about her. Psaki never gets pressed on by anybody, and we're gonna get
Except for-
in.
I mean, kind of, sort of, Ducey.
Dude, don't get me wrong,
It seems like he's the only one that even challenges her.
but
or
not
asks her
like
questions.
we're about to hit Matt Lee. So Psaki came from the State Department as the press secretary, and now she's coming out of the Obama administration, and then all of a sudden now she gets to come up into Biden's. Now I've told you before, they're going to ditch her. Look at Trump, look at Obama, look at Bush. They run through these people so quick. Look at Clinton, but most people, George Papadopoulos, all these people get run through, to be honest with you, like hookers at a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, really, that's your analogy?
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Look at any newspaper. Did you just hear what they said in Tampa Bay? They did a whole article about the prostitution racket in Tampa Bay and how much money they're going to lose because Tom Brady didn't win that game, and now the Super Bowl's not going to be in Tampa Bay. So anyway, here's my whole thing. So let's go to another one. So all I'm saying is she doesn't get pressed. This is the last one from 2022, and then we're going to some oldies but goodies.
You guys have submitted the written responses to Russia's demands. They are saying, if we do not receive a constructive answer from the West on our security demands, Moscow will take appropriate measures.
Look, he's going to feed her the football. Is that a threat?
Well, let me first say that the aggressor here, as maybe you're echoing in some ways or raising, is Russia. Russia has.
He
tens
just
of thousands
teed
of
her up.
troops at
Did
the
you hear
border.
that?
Yeah.
They
Is
have
that
the
a threat,
ability also
Jen?
to make the
Is that like
decision
written and planned out ahead of time?
Was that a
Yes,
threat?
to bring troops back from the border, to
Are you
participate
threatening
in good
me?
faith in a diplomatic conversation, and that would certainly be our preference. So them making threats, I think
The leading
Secretary Blinken
question.
had a very good quote, or
Oh, he
it
had a
made
good
me
quote.
laugh,
It made
that
me
he gave
laugh.
a
It made
couple
me
of days ago,
chuckle.
where he said it was like the fox threatening to attack the hens in the hen house because
Yes.
they were feeling threatened by the hens.
Mhm.
But
Yes.
our objective is to give them paths and to take part in a diplomatic conversation in good faith.
Yes, yes, it was. Okay, now
Queen, whatever
before
says she is so condescending.
Oh.
I know she's like
We're gonna get better.
like nails on the chalkboard condescending.
So before
I
we
can't
go,
read that far. Queen Boudica.
she said, "Wife, mic check."
"Wife, mic check." What? You can't hear me?
All right,
Mic
so-
check. Mic check.
So
Is that what you
here's
mean?
what I want to do. Victoria Nuland. Okay, ready? I'm going to fade to black. So we're going to go in. This is back in 2014. Senior U.S. State Department official Victoria Nuland has alleged being been caught giving a harsh message to the EU while discussing Ukrainian opposition leaders' roles in the country's future government. The phone call was taped and posted on YouTube. And then I'm going to show you something else here.
Maria says, "What's with the paper flipping? Oh my god, annoying! Like she wants to look. She knows what she's talking about." Well, I don't know. I mean, to be fair, Kaylee McEnany had her big old binder. But man, she knew her stuff at least.
No, yeah, I'll give it that. Okay, so here we'll go back. All right, so let's clip to this.
Does the U.S. government believe that Russia was behind?
This is
Okay,
back
yeah.
in these videos are from
Preface this before-
2014.
preface
The
this.
reason I want to go into these is I want to get back to the day and age where Jen Psaki got literally owned on her by real mother G's is all I'm getting at. So Matt Lee is with the Associated Press. Matt Lee, I'm always telling you about him. Matt Lee is great. Matt Lee does not play around. If you listen to
He ain't playing.
If you listen to the State Department press conferences now, Matt Lee is still there for Associated Press and still hammers the Biden administration people within the State Department, Anthony Blinken and all. He hits them so heavy. Well, Psaki, this is where she kind of got her training wheels. And he owns her, and it's great. So we're gonna, like I said, we're doing these 4 videos and we're out, okay? And that's the end of the show.
This bugging and release, and if you are not willing to go that far, are you concerned at all that officials in the Russian government seem to be wanting to point to draw attention to this?
Well, certainly we think this is a
Look
new
at her,
low
yeah.
in Russian tradecraft
Little
in terms
tradecraft.
of publicizing, posting. I don't have any other independent details about the origin of the YouTube video. You're
course you
you're
don't.
right. This is
Piece of shit.
clearly happened overnight and is relatively new. But this is something they've been actively promoting, posting on, tweeting about, and certainly that we feel that represents a new low.
But do you
what
think
do you
that-
mean? Can I follow
Yeah,
up? please?
sure.
What do you mean
Every
by
other
this
Watch,
new
watch,
low
watch.
Russian
Sucking back then,
tradecraft?
too. She
Tradecraft
never
is
got
a
out of
word
that
typically
little
that refers
crutch,
almost
did she?
exclusively to espionage activities. Are you saying that you regard this as an active Russian espionage? that
Look, they're
this
all hit there,
conversation
dude. This is
was
gonna get
recorded
crazy.
and broadcast?
Well, certainly if it was recorded and broadcast, that
They
would
will.
be that it would
Watch.
be, violating a private conversation.
You said this is a new low in Russian tradecraft. That means you think that the Russians, in fact, recorded and made available this
Well,
broadcast.
as I just stated, I don't have any independent or new information on
Oh,
that.
no, of
but
course you
obviously
don't.
they promoted this and were the first to tweet about it. So that's
Soggy Bob.
That's your suspicion. You didn't, and you said this is a new low in Russian tradecraft.
Hey, we need
That
some sake.
implies that you believe it is their responsibility.
Well, I think I was pretty clear in answering Matt's question that I don't have any independent information on the origin of the YouTube.
I want you to riff on Psaki. I'm gonna get a shot glass and the Psaki real quick. Riff on her real quick.
Okay. So first of all, you said this was from 2014.
This is 2014. This was about a conversation that was recorded with our ambassador to the Ukraine that got leaked.
Yeah. So clearly she wasn't prepped or prepared for this. This is from 2014. I mean, there's a lot of thoughts that I have about this. Like, I mean, the just even the idea that we have people that are, I mean, in my opinion, like so young representing to be press secretaries. I mean, I don't know. I feel like somebody older would be taken more seriously. And then the other aspect of it is ever since she's been in that position, I'm like, well, she'll get better. She's a little bit rusty with the every other word. Give her some time. But then I see something like this from 2014 where it was like, I mean, and then it's just like, really? You haven't like grown really at all in your delivery.
So we have cucumber sake for my wife.
So I wanted to have actual sake
for the sake bombs.
for the sake.
And it's real murky, just like her answers. Real murky answers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then my other thing with her is, man, does she have a, like you said, a condescending delivery. It's like everything is that like
It's ridiculous.
half smirk. Like, well, I mean, if we
But
knew.
obviously they were the first ones to.
It's just, it's like so sick. I mean, it's like watching.
So consider she's bombing.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Cucumber. Yeah, see, that's not as harsh to me as the mezcal, which felt like just straight up smoke.
Me and Christy went to a mezcal and tequila festival here in Austin, and then all of a sudden we had to go to a story at a prison. Now tell me how that worked out.
Yeah, so I mean,
We'll do that another night, but let's continue.
Okay, yeah.
I just bringing it
It
up to
didn't
bring it
work
up.
well.
Ready?
It
Here's
didn't work out
sake.
well.
Post on Twitter about it.
She's gonna get
which
hammered.
is an indication, but again, I don't know. I don't have any independent information.
And then, wait, sorry, can I keep going? Because look,
She's a real
the
journalist.
Russians
That's what I love
have
about this.
repeatedly accused the United States government of interfering in Ukraine's politics.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. government has, to some degree, made reciprocal.
I'm sorry, but he's like, you're not really saying the United States is messing into Ukraine's politics, are you? Is this what you're saying? Like, he's like, wait a minute, did I just hear you say that stupid out of your mouth?
Oh my God,
I'm
you were
sorry.
hitting the wrong
I'm
buttons.
sorry, I can't help. We need to. I'm going to arrange this stuff different, but it's just great. Why I like Matt Lee, and you get individuals like this because ultimately they're asking real questions.
Yeah.
You
I
don't
mean,
get
as a
questions
real
like this in the White
journal
House.
should be. No, I mean, because like you see Biden admit, like, I mean, he always like, I think unintentionally admits, like, I wasn't supposed to call on, or this is who was approved for me to call on. I mean, so you know that these questions are being like approved in it.
Look at his face. He's like, you're full of it.
Yeah.
All right, we'll continue.
Claims about Russia.
It gets so much better.
Does not the fact that U.S. diplomats purportedly are discussing who should and should not be in a Ukrainian government hint at some possibility of U.S.
AK selecting their
Absolutely
leaders.
not. It should be no surprise that U.S. officials talk about issues around the world. Of course we do. That's what you do. That's what diplomats do, and discuss especially issues where we've been closely engaged. You know, the secretary met with the opposition this weekend. He stopped by a meeting with the foreign minister. It's up to the people of Ukraine, including officials from both sides, to determine the path forward. But it shouldn't be a surprise that there are discussions about it.
Meanwhile, they had no clue about Hunter Biden over there with all these people at the time.
Yeah,
This was more than discussions, though. This was two top U.S. officials that are on the ground
Look, this is
discussing a plan that they have to broker a future government and bringing officials from the UN to kind of seal the deal. This is more than the U.S. trying to make suggestions. This is the U.S. midwifing the process.
Well, Elise, you're talking about a private diplomatic conversation. Those happen
She
all
doesn't
the
get
time.
this.
Of course, as
Here's
part
the
of private
thing.
diplomatic
I could
conversation,
keep
it is up to the
And it
that you're going to foist that.
Hold
The
on.
bottom line here is that you do have an opinion about what certain people should, what roles certain people should.
This is
what
Matt
role you
Lee.
think
Matt
best
Lee with
for
AP
certain
is
people
great.
to play, correct? I mean, you do have that is an opinion of the United States. Doesn't mean that you're going to foist that or force it on the people of Ukraine, but you do have an opinion, correct?
Well, Matt, I would caution
Is that
everybody.
correct?
One moment. We're talking about a couple of minutes from a recorded call. That doesn't reflect every conversation that's happened, every debate that's happened, every internal conversation that's happened.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. But you do have, here is a case where two officials are talking about a preference for what one opposition or several opposition leaders should do, whether they should be in or stay out of the government. Is that not correct? So you do have an opinion about what you think would be best.
Well,
and I'm not sure that that's so.
I'm not.
That's
We have
bad.
opinions about a range of issues. That shouldn't be a surprise.
So here's my. So I would just then. So when you get a
I love how he
question
laughs. He's like,
about
look, you guys are a
whether
bunch of
you
clowns.
think it would be good or bad for politician X or Y in country X or Y to run for office, for any office, I don't think that it is
she's reminding me of
honest for you to say,
Oh, yeah,
no, we
peanuts.
don't have an opinion, and that's completely up to the people
Well,
of country
Matt,
X.
there's a
And I
difference.
specifically mean, in this case, I'm talking about Egypt.
Sure. Well,
All right, so we'll get out because I want to get to wrapping this thing up here soon, right? So here we will remove that from studio. Okay, let's move on to another Saki because we only got a couple more. Oh, before we do that, here's the video they're talking about being.
What do you
leaked.
think? I think we're in play. The Klitschko piece is obviously the
These are our
complicated
representatives.
electron here, especially the announcement of him as deputy prime minister. And you've seen some of my notes on the troubles in the marriage right now. So we're trying to get a read really fast on where he is on this stuff. But I think your argument to him, which you'll need to make, I think that's the next phone call we want to set up, is exactly the one you made to Yachts. And I'm glad you sort of put him on the spot on where he fits in this scenario. And I'm very glad he said what he said in response.
Good. So I don't think Cleach should go into the government. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's a good idea.
This is Victoria Nuland.
And they're calling this like just a regular. Well, she was calling this just like a regular diplomatic conversation.
No, but you keep in mind, I mean, this is people need to stop being naive. This is what happens. This is what we do behind the scenes. It isn't all this glossed out, lovey-dovey butterflies. And here we go. This is what people think it's all about. All of that nonsense with unicorns. Really, they're behind the scenes talking about who they want to run a country and why, and who they're going to take out and why. But anyway, I'll continue it. This is the conversation that Jen Psaki that was referenced in the previous press conference. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you think what in terms of him not going into the government, just let him sort of stay out and do his political homework and stuff. I'm just thinking in terms of sort of the process moving ahead, we want to keep the moderate Democrats together. The problem is going to be Tony Book and his guys. And, you know, I'm sure that's part of what Yanukovych is calculating on all of this.
I think
This is
Yats
what
is the
Psaki said
guy
was
who's
trait
got the
craft. The
economic
Russians put
experience,
this
the governing experience. He's the guy. You know what he needs is Cleach and Tony
Well,
Book on the outside.
the Ukrainians
he needs
could
to be
have put
talking
it
to
out.
them
There's
4
no
times a
way of
week.
knowing when you
You
get
know?
into this kind of stuff.
I just think
Look at
Cleach
him,
going
he's
in, he's going to be at
They're
that
like,
level,
yeah, we don't know about this
working for
guy.
Yatsenyuk. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. Okay.
That's what I looked like when you
Good.
met
Well,
me.
do you want us to try to set up a call with him as the next step?
My understanding from that call, but you tell me, was that the big three were going into their own meeting, and that Yats was going to offer in that context a three-way, you know, the 3+1.
So keep in mind when they're talking about the big three, more than likely they're probably talking about Germany, France. Do you get what I mean? Like when they're talking about that kind of stuff, that's normally that's what they're mentioning, and Russia.
Conversation or 3+2 with you. Is that not how you understood it?
No, I mean, that's what he proposed, but I think just knowing the dynamic that's been with them where Klitschko has been the top dog, he's going to take a while to show up for whatever meeting they've got, and he's probably talking to his guys at this point. So I think you reaching out directly to him helps with the personality management
Look,
among
this
the
guy
three,
probably
and
hangs
it
out with
gives
Joe
you also
Rogan.
a
We got to
chance
really
to
get him out of the way
move
because
fast on all this
he's
stuff
gonna
and put us
start a
behind it before they all sit down and he explains why he doesn't like it.
Okay, good. I'm happy. Why don't you reach out to him and see if he wants to talk before or after?
Okay, will do. Thanks.
Okay, I've now written, one more wrinkle for you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Can't remember if I told you this or if I only told Washington this, that when I talked to Jeff Feltman this morning, he had a new name for the UN guy, Robert Seri. Did I write you that this morning?
Yeah, I saw that.
He's now gotten both Seri and Ban Ki-moon to agree that Seri could come in Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
So that would be great, I think, to help glue this thing and have the UN help glue it. And, fuck the EU.
No, exactly. And I think we've got to do something to make it stick together.
She just said
you can be pretty
EU.
sure that if it does start to gain altitude, the Russians will be working behind the scenes to try to torpedo it. And again, the fact that this is out there right now, I'm still trying to figure out in my mind why Yanukovych did that. But in the meantime, there's a Party of Regions faction meeting going on right now, and I'm sure there's a lively argument going on in that group at this point. But anyway, we could land Jelly side up on this one if we move fast. So let me work on Klitschko, and if you can just keep, I think we want to try to get somebody with an international personality.
All right, so that's just giving you a taste. I wanted to pull that in because I wanted to reference it. These are the way the conversations go. She just said EU. Kind of what Donald Trump said. And when you look up Victoria Nuland, she comes up in everything. First Trump, now Biden. Ukraine feels jilted by its American ally. Politico Playbook, January 6th committee dealt 2 big blows. So this woman, she's a player, is really what it all comes down to. So we'll get rid of her, and then let's move on to 2 more, and then we're out of here, okay? And I'm bringing these up because this is where these are all like Matt Lee State Department press conferences. And it's where, for some reason, I feel like all the good journalists left essentially are in the damn State Department covering what's going on. Maybe to save us all from dying from war. I don't know. But listen to this next one.
Material for the Iraq facility that you support the release of this report. Does that mean that you accept its findings?
Well, I think we.
So remember we watched that movie?
Oh, and then she's wearing that same awful necklace.
So remember we watched that movie with Adam Driver?
No.
The other night that I was watching about the terror, the torture report. I was watching that movie.
You watch so many movies.
Yeah, but remember Adam Driver, he's got kind of the long nose emo looking guy. He was in The Duel, the last Duel that we watched.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Remember, he's sitting and going through the classified documents for not Marcy Kaptur, who's out of California. Not Marcy Kaptur, because she's Ohio. Not Nancy Pelosi. Dianne Feinstein, remember?
Okay, yeah.
So my whole point is, this is about the torture documents. Okay, that we tortured, as Obama said, we tortured some folks.
The president made a decision to end these programs 5 years ago. I think that speaks for itself.
So you do?
I'm not going to speak broadly to the findings of the report. I think that's an important point, that decision was already made long before the report was released.
It's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the Justice Department says that it does not intend to reopen any investigation into the alleged, what was alleged to have happened. And I'm wondering if that's not wrong, how it is going to be when you call for accountability for rights abuses in other countries.
So many different platforms we need to do.
How you're going to be able to do that without being essentially laughed out of the room.
Well, I'd certainly point you to the Department of Justice. As you noted, they've already spoken to this.
Better than that awful necklace she's wearing.
Iraq facilities. You supported war crimes trials and things like that for other countries. The point of those things that you support is to hold people actually accountable and to punish them if they did something wrong. You're saying in this instance that people did bad things, wrong things that contravene U.S. values, but you're at the same time saying that you're not prepared to hold them accountable.
I would encourage you to have a conversation with the Department of Justice. I don't have anything to add from the State Department.
In Delhi was involved in rape of an Indian woman.
About the response.
And I just wonder if you feel today that maybe the United States has lost some of its moral footing.
No, we don't feel that we have.
No, we don't. Bella,
Yeah,
we haven't.
we haven't. All right,
How
so
dare you ask that question? I mean, no, we don't. No, we don't.
so this is for.
Man,
Here's the thing, 10 years ago.
Jen Psaki in like high school, she would like totally be like that. You can't sit with us. Okay.
She would not be putting the Mockingjay up. She wouldn't be. So I want to bring something up.
My mom said you got your sweater at Walmart and not at Nordstrom. So sorry, you can't sit with us. That would be Jen Psaki. That's how I imagine her in high school.
Yeah.
Oh, what
I don't like her necklace. I don't like her face. I don't like anything about her. Okay. So I want to show something else. So if you notice in the video, it has RT. So these past couple clips are Russian television. Now I did something to kind of try to educate people. So I'm doing this, and then I'm going to eliminate this video. One sec, everyone. There you go. I circled this and put an arrow to it. RT is funded in whole or in part by the Russian government. So they have to register as a state actor because they're RT, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I recently, and I didn't grab this article, but all of a sudden the United States is up in arms because all of a sudden any U.S. media trying to be in Russia, Russia's telling them to do the same thing, okay? And they're NGOs, they're non-government organizations like USAID or any other organization that the CIA essentially uses as a front to play. Because you got to understand, our intelligence apparatus will go and start up nonprofits to muck around in other countries' elections. We do this in Venezuela. We do it all throughout South America, and we love doing it in Russia. Well, now Russia is making all these people register. So I pointed this out because this came up when I downloaded these videos. It said RT is funded in whole or in part by the Russian government. The U.S. doesn't want that on anything that's going over to Russia that's coming from the U.S. So all I'm saying is fair is fair, right? I mean, you understand what I'm getting at with that, right, hon? So now let's do the last video, and then we're going to end with a Tucker Carlson poll, and we'll sign out.
This disclaimer, it's a positive step, but we want every platform to continue doing more to call out mis and disinformation while also uplifting accurate information. I mean, look at the facts, right? You are 16 times more likely to be hospitalized if you're unvaccinated and 68 times more likely to die than someone who is boosted if you're unvaccinated. That's pretty significant, and we think that is something that unquestionably should be the basis of how people are communicating about it. But ultimately, our view is it's a good step, it's a positive step, but there's more that can be done.
Okay, sorry. So that was out of order. So that was out of order. That was supposed to line up with the whole Sharon Stone, Joe Rogan stuff. Okay. That is essentially what people are using. This is what people are officially using as Eric Weinstein, all the people on Twitter are using as essentially saying the White House is calling Spotify to censor Joe Rogan, right? This is the thing about social media is everything, they don't put things in the right context, so it's kind of confusing to get it. But this is, I'm after doing the research, this is what people are using for the justification of that. So let me actually grab the video that I want to, and then we'll go to it. So torture.
That's a nice way to go through it. Do I want torture? Do I want Muslim?
Press freedom. This is the Jen Psaki one I want. Listen to this on press freedom. This is great.
One more announcement for all of you. With World Press Freedom Day around the corner on May 3rd, the department will launch its third annual Free the Press campaign later this afternoon in New York at the US-UN mission. Beginning on Monday and all of next week, we will highlight emblematic cases of imperiled reporters and media outlets that have been targeted, oppressed, imprisoned, or otherwise harassed because of their professional work. The first two cases will be announced by Assistant Secretary Tom Malinowski later at USUN.
Sake bombs.
And we invite you, of course, to follow Tom at Twitter, who, as you on Twitter, who, as you all know, was just confirmed several weeks ago at Malinowski, and to keep up with human rights issues on DRL's website. With that,
Sure. Just on that, reporters who are
It's going to get good.
what,
Matt Lee's a beast.
harassed? I'm sorry.
targeted, oppressed,
Listen,
imprisoned, or otherwise harassed.
Otherwise harassed. Does that include those who may have been targeted, harassed, imprisoned, or otherwise whatever by the United States government?
Look at his face.
I
No.
think you're familiar with our Free the Press campaign, Matt.
Fair enough. So it does not include those who might have been
We
harassed
highlight,
by.
as we often do, where we see issues with media freedom around the world.
Right,
Yeah,
I
you're
understand, but
full of
you,
shit.
but you would say that you don't.
I ain't peeping it.
The U.S. does not believe that it has a problem with press freedom, or if it does, that it's not nearly as severe as the problems in other.
And this is during Obama's administration,
We can look
2014.
at many of the problems around,
So-
on media press freedom. Oh, go ahead, and then we'll go to you, Lala. Did you have another question on media press freedom?
Yeah, she had to brush that coke off the nose.
No, I was going to go to something else, unless.
On press freedom, do you have anything on the attempts in Pakistan to close down Jio TV, whose journalist was shot at last week?
Sure, I do.
I mean, to her credit, and to Kayleigh
Well, as
McEnany.
I just noted, and as evidenced by
Yeah.
our plan to highlight many cases around the world.
See, he's
over the
not even
course of
talking,
the
though,
coming
Andy,
week,
about
freedom of the
Julian
press,
Assange in
including
this one.
freedom of
You'll
the airways
see
and
he's going to
safety
tell
for
you that.
journalists is of paramount importance to freedom of expression and to the healthy functioning of any democracy
Someone who knows.
around the world. We continue to wish Hamid Mir a speedy recovery and to call on the government of Pakistan to bring all those responsible for these attacks on the media to justice. On the GOTV blocked question, we're aware of these reports and also aware of reports that the Information Ministry has asked PEMRA to restore transmission. We're continuing to follow events.
And then,
I don't have any.
wow, that
other
might be anti.
Overall, in general, but the administration does not regard attempting to prosecute American journalists as an infringement of press freedom.
I'm not sure what you're
Well, there's
referring
several
to.
cases that are out there right now. The one that springs to mind is the James Risen case.
Yes.
Where
He doesn't even mention
where
Assange.
The Justice Department is attempting to prosecute. You
Watch
don't.
this.
I just want to be clear. I'm not trying to.
Well, Matt,
I
obviously.
just want to know if you regard that as an infringement on press freedom or not, and I suspect that you do
All
not.
these journalists are G's. They hit him with the question.
As you know, and I'll of course refer to the Department of Justice, but the leaking of classified information is in a separate category. What
But this is what I was getting at. For some reason, Matt Lee is still doing this to this day at the State Department. If you listen to this day at the State Department press conferences, we'll have to have a night to where all we do is go over Matt. We'll do sake bombs and we'll come up with some kind of Matt Lee thing. Because to this day, every week at the State Department, Matt Lee drops these same kind of bombs on the State Department spokesperson for Anthony Blinken, and he has no clue what the hell to do. And then my guess is that guy's going to get upgraded to some future geriatric president that we're going to get. But so we'll continue because this is almost over.
we're talking about here, as you all know, and unfortunately we have to talk about on a regular basis here, is the targeting of journalists,
No.
the arrests, the imprisonment for simply exercising
Right.
their ability to tell a story.
Right. I understand that, and I'm sure myself and all my colleagues were very appreciative of that. But the reporters in question here have not leaked the
Look.
information; they simply published it. So, is it correct then that you don't regard that as an infringement of press freedom?
We don't. I
Okay.
don't have anything more to say on that case.
Okay.
Do we have a new
Yeah,
topic?
of course you don't, Jen. Of course you don't, Jen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my Lord. Okay, so we're gonna fade to one more thing, and then we'll end this thing off. So we're going 2 hours and 14 minutes, and we're about to, like I said, end this after this last clip. I want to show you Tucker Carlson. And we'll get rid of actually you know what, we'll get rid of the banner. Surprise, Tucker Carlson draws the most Democratic viewers in key demo. So if I look at this on what it actually, Here, I'm going to tell you. So the Nielsen Fusion data for October shows the Fox News host audience isn't entirely conservative. And I'm going to tell you, so in the poll in the age bracket of 25 to 54 for liberals, watch Tucker Carlson. So he's beating out Rachel Maddow and everybody else. So hence it's going back to kind of the whole point that we're talking about essentially with CNN. And as I was reading before, they're dying. God, I hate her guts. Hold on. Please forgive me, Lord. I'm sure he will. Dropping bombs on Michael Hastings. Trucker.
Hey, Queen, are you talking about
Tucker Carlson dropping bombs
is
on
Queen
Michael.
talking about Jen Psaki, Queen Boudica? I love her sincere manner of speak. She's just lovely. I'm teasing. I don't think she's talking about Jen Psaki.
Hold up. Boom. I hope the boom was in the regards like, so they weren't leaking information. They were just actually reporting the information, which is wild. So, yeah, I don't know what else to really, do, hun, than close this thing out.
Yeah, I mean,
this was good.
We've had a good over 2 hour show for.
No, but that's nice. A 2-hour podcast. Look,
yeah, for
if you think about it,
debut.
If you think about it, I lined
show.
up probably 15 videos and maybe 20 pictures, and that comprised 2 hours worth of talking.
Yeah,
that's not bad. So now at least we have a structure within that we can plan for
and play around with.
Yes. So that being said, what do we want to do?
Well, once we get more comfortable with this, we can probably bring in guests, right?
Well, yeah. Here's the thing: we're gonna branch this thing out to be able to stream on everything. It's gonna end up streaming on Rumble. It's gonna end up streaming on YouTube. It's gonna end up streaming on Locals. It's gonna end up streaming on Twitter. Right now, we did my Facebook, Christy's Facebook.
I don't even have Odyssey or Rough.
And what else did we do?
I was just trying to set up a
and your YouTube. So eventually, we're gonna have every platform. We're gonna have this thing stream live. And another reason we're doing it and producing it live, that way Christy doesn't have to go back and edit this. This is just something extra that she can do. Now, look, remember to go to her website, ChristyLeeTV.com. Okay. KLIM.news. If you go to those websites, you'll also have a donate button. Christy wants to be able to go to CPAC. We want to be able to go to the border more. We want to be able to go to all kinds of things and be able to report. Of course, I'm always behind the scenes.
And let me be clear. The reason I want to go to CPAC is I want to kind of come in unassumingly. And don't think that I want to go there and just like toot everybody's horn. I want to go there and I want to challenge people. That is why I want to go there. Is because I think that there's plenty of people there that need challenged.
Well, you're growing in this role. Think about it. You went from a very structured, here's your script, read off the teleprompter. I've been doing this for 20 years. You know the routine, to now, here you go, Christy, have at it.
Yeah.
So this is new.
It's been a crazy,
right? And we're going to have plenty of podcasts where we talk about this further.
And John knows as my husband, and we've had heart to hearts. And I was like, I think I felt pretty good about at least knowing what I was doing. Like I felt like I was good at what I did.
You hear that news voice? I love that news voice. She has a news voice. She does. She's like, I thought I knew what I was doing.
No, I think that I had become good at what I was doing. I think I was a well-performing news anchor.
Do the audience a favor. Do the news voice with something about Hunter Biden.
Exaggerated news
do the exaggerated news voice about something about Biden.
Treat me like a circus
No. Just do this.
Do
something with the news voice that has to do with Biden being like a geriatric, like, oh my gosh, he's finally lost his nerve.
Oh wait, I thought you were talking about Hunter Biden.
Well, do Hunter. It doesn't matter either one. Do it for the audience.
About what?
Make up anything. You're creative. And I want everyone to donate for this. This costs money right here. Okay. She isn't going to ask. I'm going to tell you, this woman needs to go places so she can put out content. So do the exaggerated news voice, what everybody's here for. Play them cymbals, monkey.
Well, it has just been confirmed by multiple sources familiar with the situation. We'll use the typical sources familiar with the situation say that Hunter Biden has just been arrested for being in a Ukrainian hotel and being peed on. He was actually the one being peed on by hookers. He has been arrested. The FBI is investigating, so we're sure that this whole situation will be cleared up and he will be let off at any time now.
Well, Christy, after Hunter was digging through the carpet, he swears that he was picking up actual pink Himalayan salt.
Frito chips.
Frito chips. He was crumbling them up and putting them in wrappers, but he was so intoxicated he had no clue what was going on.
Frito Lays. That is his official comment.
So that's all for today. So stay classy and go yourself, San Diego. So that being said, everyone, thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it. This was our first episode of Scott Off the Press. And we're going to learn and get better as we go along. So that being said, we'll hit you with that outro. Have a great night.